believe that I am live. And if that is the case, welcome to today's program on this Sunday, October 23rd, 2022. This is program number 156 live on Facebook and YouTube of Con Salsa. We've been doing this since March of 2020 when the pandemic first hit, the COVID pandemic first hit. One of my field producers, Ryan Newfo, his new baby and wife are seeing me and hearing me. Thank you, Ryan, for being out there, for checking in and letting us know that you can see and hear me clearly. I continue to do my radio program live every Saturday night from 10 p.m. until 3 o'clock in the morning. Ryan was listening in last night, saying that he enjoyed the music that I shared with you throughout the 5 hours of programming. So you can tune in every Saturday night, 10 p.m. to 3 o'clock in the morning, Boston time, on WBUR 90.9 FM or on the web, WBUR.org. In any case, today's program is very special. I've been looking forward to this. Our dear friend Pablo Indio Rosario will join us again. He's been our guest before, and tonight we'll be talking about his upcoming tribute to the great Cal Tjader, Mongo, Santamaria, and Willie Bobo. Will take place next weekend, Friday and Saturday, in Puerto Rico, in Luquillo Beach at the theC-Note. So if you're in the area of Puerto Rico, make sure you make it down there to catch one of the 4 shows that Pablito has prepared for you. Bueno, mi gente, bienvenidos a otra edición del programa Con Salsa en vivo aquí en Facebook y YouTube. El nombre mío es José Mazo, desde los estudios de D&J para Divina, mi querida esposa que se encuentra arriba, y este servidor, José Mazo. Continuamos el programa Con Salsa por la radio cada sábado por la noche, comenzando a las 10 hasta las 3 de la madrugada, 5 horas de programación. Con Salsa, la voz un pueblo nuevo, 47 años de patria y cultura por la WBOR 90.9 FM o por el internet wbor.org. Para esta tarde tengo un invitado muy especial, nuestro querido amigo Pablo Indio Rosario, que el próximo fin de semana, viernes y sábado, en Luquillo, Puerto Rico, en el theC-Note, tendrá un espectáculo titulado Tribute to Cal Tjader, Mongo, Santamaria y el gran Willie Bobo. Así que estaremos hablando con él sobre eso, también escuchando música y otras cosas para ustedes. De cualquier manera, saludos por aquí para William Rivera. Dice, saludos mi gente de la salsa desde la isla de Puerto Rico. Un abrazo musical. Gracias, William. También por aquí otro saludo, Ángel Vidal López. What's up, bro? Keep up the good work. Thank you, Ángel. Gracias por ser parte de la familia Con Salsa. Please share this with your friends. Let them know that we're on the air and that we're broadcasting live so that they can participate on this program as well. Tenemos saludos también por aquí desde Medellín. Una de las ciudades favoritas mías en Medellín. Hay un lugar que se llama Hato Viejo que a mí me encanta, cruzar de la calle del Hotel Intercontinental. Así que, Octavio, si pasa por allá, por favor, cuando cenes, piensa en mí. Saludos desde Medellín, Colombia, Octavio Sánchez Castañeda. Y también Janet García dice, hola, hi Janet, qué alegría verte. She's in Long Island. Thank you, Janet, for being there. Y también saludos de parte de José Arroyo y su familia. Thank you, José. I've got some surprises for you. I think that you will enjoy. Next weekend, el próximo fin de semana, mi invitado será Chris Rogers, trompetista, el hijo del legendario trombonista Barry Rogers, quien tocó por muchos años con Eddie Palmieri y fue parte de la orquesta original, La Perfecta de Eddie Palmieri. Estará el hijo, Chris Rogers, hablando con nosotros el próximo fin de semana, domingo. Y en 2 semanas, mi invitado será una persona bien legendaria. Reconocido productor, músico, cantante, compositor, arreglista, nada más y nada menos que Frank Ferrer, quien estará con nosotros en 2 semanas aquí platicando sobre un sinnúmero de experiencias, anécdotas y proyectos que tiene en mente en estos momentos. Así que quedan cordialmente invitados por aquí. Before I go to music, another greeting from Texas. Thank you, Rafael, for always being part of the show. Javier Marín, mi querido amigo. Javier Mejías, mi querido amigo desde Tenerife, España. Gracias a ti por ser parte de la familia Con Salsa. Bueno, vamos a la música. Let's go to some music. And this first 2 cuts, of course, are legendary. They come from the album titled Bata con Bele, of which Pablito Rosario was a founding member. It was produced by Frank Ferrer, who will be my guest in 2 weeks. So stay tuned right where you are. Vamos a la música. No se retiren.
Se jardín de mi vida que quiero tener dentro del corazón, mujer de mi ilusión, vida de mi alma. Prepárense todos, vamos a gozar. Saca tu pareja, vamos a bailar. Anda con el trago el son a Puerto Rico, mamá. Santo Domingo, Venezuela, Cuba y Panamá.
Y sigue la salsa con Salsa y José Mazo.
Bueno, mientras ahí escuchamos dos selecciones del repertorio icónico, legendario y clásico de Bata con Vela en el año 1981. Es su propuesta musical, uno de los clásicos para nuestra música afroantillana, con un poco de songo. Jerry Medina en las vocales, Jerry también en la trompeta. Una producción de Frank Ferrer, quien será mi invitado en 2 semanas aquí en el programa Con Salsa. Así que los invito para que estén con nosotros para esta conversación que tendré con él. Y esta tarde nuestro invitado muy especial, nuestro querido amigo Pablo el Indio Rosario, que tiene una actividad muy especial el próximo fin de semana en el theC-Note en Luquillo, Puerto Rico. El legendario bongocero y percusionista Pablo el Indio Rosario, que han tocado con Larry Harlow, con Willie Colón, Vamos a ver con Mongo Santamaria. La lista es larguísima. Miembro fundador de Batacumbele, que estaremos charlando con él sobre la actividad que tiene para el próximo fin de semana. Aquellos que estén en el área de Luquillo, Puerto Rico, Pablito Rosario, Tribute to Cal Tjader, Mongo Santamaria, Willie, Bobo, el día 28 y 29 de octubre en el theC-Note, que queda en Luquillo, Puerto Rico. 3 legendarios músicos de la música del jazz latino. Next weekend, Pablito Rosario, our special guest tonight, will have a tribute to Cal Tjader, Mongo Santamaria, and Willie Bobo. That'll be on Friday the 28th and Saturday the 29th at the theC-Note Jazz Club in Luquillo, Puerto Rico. And we'll be talking with him about this tribute to these legendary musicians. We just heard 2 selections by Batacumbele, the group of which he was a founding member, recorded back in 1981. We heard Celebe y Alaiole with Jerry Medina on vocals, and he was also on the trumpet guitar and the trumpet as well, doing the solo that you heard there. We're going to continue more music. This gentleman who's going to be performing now will be here on Friday, the 18th of November. And he's one of those percussionists that Pablo Rosario tells us about all the time. And the song that you're going to hear has Pablo Rosario playing Guido. It's titled Yo Vengo a Ofrecer Mi Corazón. Daniel Diaz and Jafet Murguia. Next month, Daniel Diaz and Alex Lopez, Bomba de Aquí, will be performing on Friday, November 18th at 5:30 at the Roxbury Community College. It's brought to you by Inquilinos Boricuas en Acción. Tickets are on sale. So, Jose Arroyo, I expect to see you there. Let's hear some music by Daniel. And this one is titled Yo Vengo a Ofrecer Mi Corazón. In Anguiro, none other than our dear friend Pablo Indio Rosario, our guest for this afternoon here on Con Salsa Live.
¿Quién dijo que todo está perdido? Yo vengo a ofrecer mi corazón. Tanta sangre que se llevó el río. Yo vengo a ofrecer mi corazón. No será tan fácil, ya sé qué pasa. No será tan simple como pensaba. Cómo abrir el pecho y sacar el alma, una cuchillada del amor, luna de los pobres siempre abierta. Yo vengo a ofrecer mi corazón como un documento inalterable. Yo vengo a ofrecer mi corazón. Las puntas y aquí te canto mi coro.
Yo vengo a ofrecer mi corazón.
Paz y amor es lo que
Yo
añoro.
vengo a ofrecer mi corazón.
Si tu esperanza cayó en un pozo,
Yo vengo a ofrecer mi corazón.
escucha la rumba que te compongo.
Yo vengo a ofrecer mi corazón.
Por los poquitos traigo
Yo vengo a
alegría.
ofrecer mi corazón.
Que no corra más sangre en la tierra mía. Son difíciles momentos pasando por nuestras vidas. El tambor es nuestro aliento y nuestras voces unidas.
Canto al son del tambor.
Para que te llegue el alma
Canto al son del tambor.
y te alegre el corazón.
Canto al son del tambor.
Un canto de fe y esperanza,
Canto al son del tambor.
de resiliencia y redención.
Canto al son del tambor.
Porque nada se ha perdido.
Canto al son del tambor.
Que repique el tambor y su sonido.
Canto al son del tambor.
Libertad a toda la humanidad.
Canto al son del tambor.
Oye, que el abuso se acabó.
El tambor sonó y en mi corazón el sueño de un mundo nuevo repica en esta canción. El tambor sonó y en mi corazón el sueño de un mundo nuevo repica en esta canción.
El sueño de un mundo nuevo.
Repica en esta canción.
De un pueblo que se levanta.
Repica en esta canción.
Ay, sin tristeza y sin dolor.
Repica en esta canción.
Oye, que se escucha el tambor su alabanza.
Repica en esta canción. El tambor sonó y en mi corazón el sueño de un mundo nuevo repica en esta canción.
Esto es para el tumbador.
Temporal, qué bueno que ya te fuiste. Me tengo que sacudir del reguero que hiciste. Sacúdeme, sacúdete, temporal. Aunque quieras derrumbarme, aquí planté mis raíces. Vamos, tira pa'lante.
Me asomé por el balcón, vi los plátanos volando, chocaban con los mangos. Mi madre estaba rezando, los cocos se van cayendo, los aguacates en las panas, los postes de la avenida, cristales, techo, ventana. Me quedé yo casi mudo, la casa se me inundó, tengo el agua en la rodilla, el río se desbordó y luego en la viración, qué descaro tú me hiciste, si no me escondo en el baño ahí por poco tú me despiste.
Temporal, qué bueno que ya te fuiste. Me tengo que sacudir del reguero que hiciste. Sacúdeme, sacúdeme, temporal. Aunque quieras derrumbarme, aquí planté mis raíces. Vamos, tira pa'lante.
El perro salió ladrando, la puerta se reventó. Tú eres un monstruo salvaje, el que se lo lleva todo. Demoliste las montañas con sus lindos cafetales. Destrozaste la ciudad, también los residenciales. Desde los mares lejanos, tú formaste un revolú. Te vestiste de huracán, yo te echo a mi Luquillo. Formaste su remolino de saqueo de terrorismo. Pero yo soy gigante, ahí yo te espanto con mi ritmo.
Temporal, qué bueno que ya te fuiste. Me tengo que sacudir del reguero que hiciste.
Esto es para que tú lo sepas. Con tu guilla y tu poder, te metes sigas con tus abusos, no te apropies de lo mío, corrompiendo vas al templo, al supremo y al cuartel, te metes al Capitolio, ya no sabes ni qué hacer. Esto es una situación de quinta categoría, si no respetan la tierra, tampoco la ecología. Ahí llegó Salibaba con los expertos de economía, los que se lo llevan todo y dicen que fue María.
Temporal, aunque quieran derrumbarme, aquí planté mis raíces, vamos, tira pa'lante.
Y ahora canto mi canción para atravesar el momento, la canto de corazón, la canto con sentimiento por el centro del tambor. Mi dolor yo sanaré con el golpe de cortijo que interpretaba Ismael por el centro del tambor. Mi dolor yo sanaré y con bomba puertorriqueña permanecemos de pie.
Y ahora vengo a improvisar, que sabrosa mi bomba,
Para que baile,
pongo la bomba,
para que goce,
te dejo la bomba.
repícalo, repícalo.
Y ahora vengo a improvisar, que sabrosa mi bomba,
Puerto Rico,
la bomba,
mi bomba,
te dejo la bomba.
mi bomba. Arranca, va a seguir cogiendo puño. Que llegaron y se lo llevan todo.
Te llevaste el agua, el celular y la luz. Si no agarro mi calzoncillo, por poquito me dejan.
Oye tú,
Te llevaste el agua, el celular y la luz.
no hay quien no sabe.
Agarro mi calzoncillo, por poquito me dejan.
Arranca la
Por
luz,
poquito me dejan tú. Apágame, Luquillo.
ampárame.
Por poquito me dejan tú.
Estos corruptos.
Apágame, Luquillo. Por poquito me dejan tú. Apágame, Luquillo. Sacúdete, 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 sacúdete.
Aprovecha ahora que llegó el momento. Sacúdelo para afuera, todo lo malo para afuera. Aprovecha que ahora es que mueve la cintura, mueve la mano, la rodilla y los pies. Con la mano arriba que lo malo se va. Y ahora canto mi canción, atravesar el momento, la canto de corazón, la canto con sentimiento por el centro del tambor. Mi dolor yo sanaré con el golpe de cortijo que interpretaba Ismael por el centro del tambor. Mi dolor yo sanaré con la bomba puertorriqueña, permanecemos de pie.
Ahí escuchamos a ritmo de bomba, tremenda música, Sacúdelo y Sacúdete, Ricardo Morla Ríos y los Iguacas, con la participación de Pablo el Indio Rosario. Fue Pablo el Indio Rosario que me dio saber sobre esa propuesta musical, que es en video también, lo pueden ver, así que aprovechen para disfrutar del video en el cual van a escuchar esa canción, en el cual Eric Figueroa también participa como productor de esa grabación. Antes de eso escuchamos al sonido Daniel Díaz, quien estará con nosotros el día 18 de noviembre, si Dios permite. La canción Yo Vengo a Ofrecer Mi Corazón, Daniel Díaz y Jafet Murguía. Para la ñapa esta noche, la última canción será de la nueva propuesta de Miguel Zenón, Música de las Américas, una canción que él titula Antillano, en el cual hay un solo de batería de Henry Cole que está y entonces en la tumbadora Daniel Díaz. Así que se va a hacer la ñapa solamente para calentar los motores para con el gran Daniel Díaz, quien estará aquí el día 18 de noviembre. So we just heard two songs. The first one, Yo Vengo a Ofrecer Mi Corazón, I Come to Offer My Heart, Daniel Díaz and Jafet Murguía. Daniel Díaz will be performing in Boston at the Roxbury Community College on Friday, November 18th at 5:30 p.m. It's brought to you by Inquilinos Boricuas en Acción, IBA, IBA, and tickets are already on sale. Jose Arroyo and his wife will be going. I'll be looking forward to seeing him and others at that performance as the bonus for tonight's program, when we finish our conversation with Pablo Indio Rosario, I'm going to play a cut from the new album by Miguel Zenón, Música de las Américas, Music of the Americas. He's got one titled Antillano, in which he has a great drum solo by his drummer, Henry Cole. And then on congas, you're going to hear Daniel Diaz just doing a phenomenal conga solo. So that's going to be the bonus, just getting us warmed up for Daniel Diaz on November 18th. So my guest today is Pablo Rosario. I'm going to bring him on. We're going to talk a little bit, and then we're going to hear some music as we converse. But let me just say welcome to the one and only Pablo Indio Rosario. Vamos a darle la bienvenida aquí a nuestro amigo, hermano, el querido Pablo Rosario, el Indio, que se encuentra en su hogar en Puerto Rico. Pablo, ¿cómo estás y dónde estás para que la gente sepan?
Bueno, antes que nada, quiero saludar a todos. Did you just hear that?
Yeah.
That was my goat. I got a goat. That's Carita, my goat. Wow.
I hear her.
Okay, anyway. I want to say, dame un break. Okay, listen. I want to say hello to everyone who's listening. Thank you for tuning in. And Jose, te felicito. Congratulations with your program. It's like phenomenal. And, I'm ecstatic with you inviting me again to converse with you about my projects and just about everything, man. So the ball's in your court, bro. You got
Gracias,
it.
hermano. Como siempre, para mí es un honor. Y hablando de honores, tú sabes que yo te respeto, te quiero, te admiro, te considero
Gracias.
uno de los ángeles vivientes entre nosotros.
Gracias.
Yo siempre le digo a los músicos el amor que siento por ustedes, porque yo siempre pienso que el Señor Todopoderoso ha sido responsable porque ustedes estén entre nosotros, y cuando el Señor creó el mundo y la humanidad, nos dio un regalo bien especial porque creó la oportunidad de nosotros sentir su amor por medio de ustedes, sus ángeles vivientes, los músicos, que nos traen tanta alegría, tanta felicidad, tanto amor, tanta paz, tanta armonía a nuestros corazones y también a nuestras vidas. Hablando de eso, speaking about that, Jerry Medina, tu amigo y mi amigo también, hermano, escuchó, vio el video de mi conversación con el gran Chucho Valdés y me escribió una nota. So Jerry Medina, who you heard sing with Bata Cumbele, a brother and member of Bata Cumbele with Pablo Indio Rosario, saw my interview with Chucho Valdés, and he wrote me a note the next day in Spanish. I'm going to share it with you how he wrote it. Hermano, buen día para ti, divina, y toda tu hermosa familia. Escuchando tu programa entrevistando a Chucho, dijiste que considerabas a los músicos como ángeles. Y me recordé unas palabras de Juancito Torres en un concierto de Bata Cumbele en el Tito Puente y quise compartirlo contigo. Oye lo que dijo Juancito, tu amigo. La música es una expresión de la divinidad y nosotros, los músicos, somos el vehículo de esa expresión. Y digo, la música es tan inmensa que nos lleva a unos estados de conciencia y espiritualidad como ningún otro más allá. Beyond Expected, tocando esa fibra interior sin límites. Mi hermano, que estés bien y lleno de salud. Te quiero, bro. Fuerte abrazo, Jerry. ¿Qué tú piensas de eso, Pablo?
Wow, tremendísimo, tremendísimo. Especialmente tú decías, es un mensaje de Juancito Torres, que Juancito Torres, para la gente que no saben, fue y será siempre la primera trompeta la primera trompeta nacional de Puerto Rico, porque ese señor nos enseñó a muchos de nosotros, aunque él fue trompetista, pero tenía un sabor rítmico por dentro increíble y una malicia para la lírica, las letras, los chistes, las bromas. Sabía cuando las cosas estaban tristes, sabía cómo alegrar el sitio. Juancito es uno de los ángeles principales que yo creo que, ¿verdad?, se merece una estatua en su pueblo natal de Caguas, sinceramente.
Sí, señor, así será. Juancito Torres, the great Puerto Rican trumpet player, was known as the national trumpet of the island of Puerto Rico. He's passed away. Played with Eddie Palmieri, played with just about every big band that you can think of. And I concur with you, Pablito. We should have a statue for him in La Plaza de Caguas, Puerto Rico. Before we go into some music, there are some hellos here. Our dear friend David Romero, aplauso, bienvenida.
David.
Y aquí también Pablo G dice, don Pablo Rosario y don José, reciban de un amigo un fuerte abrazo, admiración y respeto. Hasta mañana pudiéramos reconocer lo que ustedes han hecho. Mucha salud. Por aquí,
gracias.
Henry Rodríguez Martínez, hola, saludos.
Henry.
José Solís, yes, Henry. José says, you're right, José, el Indio Rosario es una niña de nuestras raíces. Pronto estaré por Puerto Rico. Tendré la oportunidad de verlo. Pablo, you're one of the best. Eso dice José Solís. So before we converse, I'm going to share a song in the background. Let's put the volume up on this and listen.
Yeah.
Listen, oigan.
Mírame más, sigue mirándome así, que no hay nada en este mundo comparado con tu forma de mirar. Mírame más, sigue mirándome así, y no digas ni palabra, pues tus ojos ya me han dicho lo que sientes por mí. Vuelvo a vivir, vuelvo a creer que todo es bello para mí. Quédate ahí, no digas pero nada de ti. Con la mirada en azul, que tus ojos me enamoran, me acarician y me besan, y me hablan con ternura. Cuando me mires así, mírame más, sigue mirándome así, que no hay nada
Para los melómanos y coleccionistas, esa canción no está disponible en el mercado. Son pocos nosotros los que tenemos esa canción en nuestra colección, gracias a ese hermano que se encuentra ahí, Pablo el Indio Rosario, de una producción titulada Orinoco. Luego vamos a escuchar otras dos piezas. So there you heard, Pablo, that's him singing Mírame Más. His group Orinoco. And playing the quinto, you heard that, that was him. And I was just saying in Spanish, you can't find this anywhere because it hasn't been produced, so all of us could have it in worldwide, but those of us who are fortunate enough to have it, well, we thank Pablito for making that happen. So, Pablito, tengo tanto de qué hablar. Vamos a hablar sobre tu propuesta, vamos a hablar sobre la actividad del próximo fin de semana. Obviamente, tenemos que mencionar Basta con Vélez, tenemos que mencionar Mongo, más que nada, y Cal Tjader, etcétera, etcétera. Pero vamos a empezar con esta canción, Mírame Más. ¿Cómo es que esa canción viene a ti para hacer lo que tú quieres compartir como cantante y el grupo Orinoco?
Ok, José. Primero es que esa canción, Mírame Más, es un bolero que grabó Tito Puente cantando Santitos Colón. Cuando yo primero escuché esa canción, como todo el mundo, wow, tremendo bolero, porque aquella época el bolero reinaba también dentro de la música nuestra. No solamente la guaracha, el cha-cha-cha, el son, merengue, el bolero también estaba ahí. La gente que se criaron en mi generación apreciábamos el bolero, la letra, la orquestación, etc. Entonces, cuando ese bolero salió, pues todo el mundo, wow, tremendo bolero, otro tremendo bolero de Santito Colón con Tito Puente. Pero yo estaba un poquito más allá, ya para esa época yo estaba rumbeando en las esquinas con los muchachos y esto y lo otro. Entonces, ese bolero me hizo acordarme de un tema que canta Mercedita Valdés. Mercedita Valdés canta: voy pensando ya de tus mentiras y sé que tu cariño no es sincero. Sé que mientes al besar y mientes al decir te quiero. Ese tema, cuando yo escuché Mírame Más, dije, wow, Mercedita cantó un bolero, pero en rumba. Eso quiere decir que yo puedo cantar Mírame Más en rumba. La única diferencia es que me tomé casi 50 años antes de que pude realizar mi sueño, meterme en un estudio y hacer esa canción exactamente como la grabé, que empieza la sepia, la rumba, la voz cantando, y a mitad de camino es que entra la orquesta. Así mismo fue que yo la visualicé a los 14 años.
Okay, so a song that was a dream when Pablito was 14 years old became a reality 50-some years later, Mírame Más. Yeah. In the background, this is the reason why next weekend he has a 2-day show. It's 2 shows per day, Friday and Saturday. It's a classic Afro Blue recorded by Mongo Santamaria from his album Mongo. Listen to this. This song has been recorded some 100 and, if I'm
27.
correct, 126 different versions of Afro Blue recorded by renowned singers and musicians in the past 63 years.
Around the world.
Around the world. And on the weekend of October 28th and 29th, Pablito Rosario will pay tribute to Cal Tjader, Mongo Santamaria, and Willie Bobo at the theC-Note Jazz Club in Luquillo, Puerto Rico. Pablito, as many of you know, played in Mongo's band for several years, recording some classic albums. This song, esta canción, escrita por Mongo, no es la única escrita por Mongo, pero en el año, según dice la historia, en el año 1900, a ver cuándo fue, él graba esta canción, 1959, el día 23 de marzo, con un grupo de músicos estelares, entra a los estudios Radio Recorders en Los Ángeles, para grabar el álbum que ustedes vieron, Mongo, para el sello Fantasy, el cual tiene Paul Horn en la flauta, José Gamboa en el 3 y percusión, Al McGibbon en el bajo y vocales, Emil Richards los vibrófonos, marimba, Willie Bobo en los timbales, Armando Perraza, conga y bongo, Francisco Aguabella, Modesto Durán y Carlos Vidal en las congas, percusión y vocales, Juan Johnny Cheda y Jerry Rivera, percusión y vocales, para grabar Afro Blue, la legendaria canción escrita por él. Y luego fue grabada, obviamente, por Cal Tjader el día 20 de abril de 1959, cuando grabaron y tocaron en el Sunset School Auditorium en Carmel, California, un disco titulado Cal Tjader's Concert by the Seas, con Willie Bobo en los timbales y batería, Cal Tjader vibrófonos, Mongo en las congas, Paul Horn en la flauta, Lonnie Hewitt en el piano. Canción que se convertiría en una canción clásica. Y el bajo, Al McGibbon. There was some great stuff there. Here's the version done by.
It's the classic, bro.
Afro Blue. Esa canción se ha convertido en el tema que uno asocia automáticamente al gran Ramón Mongo Santamaria. Cuando tú decides hacerle este homenaje a Cal Tjader, Mongo Santamaria y Willie Bobo, ¿qué es la inspiración, además de haber tocado con Mongo por muchos años? ¿Por qué es necesario, Pablito, tener este tipo de tributo a estos tres grandes del Latin Jazz y nuestra música afro-latina?
Bueno, honestamente, aparte de, como tú mencionaste, que yo toqué como casi 15 años con Mongo, y eso fue una escuela. Yo estaba en primer grado y brinqué a la universidad overnight, como quien dice, con Mongo. El tributo va porque, según mi entender, esa combinación de Mongo, Willie Bobo y Cal Tjader, cuando esa gente se unieron y empezaron a tocar temas americanos, melodías americanas con ritmos afrocaribeños en San Francisco, California, la gente allí de alguna manera empezaron a llamar esa música Latin Jazz. Antes de eso, creo que estaba Machito en his Afro-Cuban Jazz. Después, creo que en los años 50, ese sonido también mezclando melodías americanas con ritmo, lo llamaban Cubap. Pero no fue hasta que ese quinteto, porque eran 5 músicos nada más, el piano, bajo, vibráfono, conga y timbal, ese sonido, la gente en California empezaron a llamar eso Latin Jazz. Y poco a poco, eso fue viajando y viajando hasta que llegó al este, a Nueva York, Filadelfia, Chicago, todo eso. Entonces, pues, mi opinión es, vamos a darle tributo a los pioneros, no los fundadores, los pioneros de esas dos palabras, Latin Jazz. Y da la casualidad que dentro de esos pioneros, yo trabajé con Mongo Santamaria. Yo, viviendo aquí en Puerto Rico, tengo el derecho de rendirle un homenaje a mi ex jefe y maestro, mentor, hermano, papá, todo, porque Mongo y yo compartimos, pero muchísimo, muchísimo. Él me enseñó mucho, me hablaba mucho de cuando él era niño, quién era su ídolo, etcétera, etcétera. Pero el tributo es más para señalar, mira, no puedo dejar que esta música se muera. Tú sabes, especialmente la cuestión del sonido del vibráfono, porque ese fue uno de los primeros instrumentos, porque antes el vibráfono era como quien dice elevator music.
Sí.
Tú sabes, estaba en el jazz, obviamente, con Lionel Hampton y Navarro y un montón de otra gente, pero cuando Cal Tjader vio por primera vez a Tito Puente tocando el vibráfono con esa sección de ritmo, se le prendió la bombilla. Ya lo había hecho, pero no a ese nivel. Porque
no
acuérdate que cuando él vio por primera vez a Puente, Willie Bobo y Mongo Santamaria tocando juntos, Mongo y Willie Bobo en Nueva York tenían el título de el dúo dinámico. Entonces, él le dijo, mira, cualquier cosa que ustedes algún día si van a California, las puertas están abiertas para que trabajen conmigo. Y luego lo que pasó fue, tú sabes, las cuestiones que pasaron, que ellos se fueron y se quedaron en California.
Así fue. Así que el tributo, para que la gente lo vean, Pablito Rosario, tribute to Cal Tjader, Mongo Santamaria, Willie Bobo, el próximo fin de semana, viernes y sábado, 2 shows por noche en el theC-Note en Luquillo. So if any of you are traveling in Puerto Rico next weekend, stop by Luquillo Beach, and you're going to, right in the town, you're going to see a place called the theC-Note. And Pablito will be performing there Friday and Saturday, 2 shows each night. And it'll be a tribute to Cal Tjader, Mongo Santamaria, and the great Willie Bobo. Let's hear a little bit more of Afro Blue. Anyone who's a student of percussion, this is the cut that they all learn from beginning to end.
Yes.
Learn it from beginning to end.
Yes.
Ahí está, el gran Cal Tjader, Mongo Santamaria, Willie Bobo,
Yeah.
Afro Blue.
That's the school right there, man. That's the school right there.
So we're going to segue from here, and we're going to continue our conversation right after this next song. We're going to talk for about 30 minutes. I want everyone outside, todo el mundo que está escuchando en este momento, compartan, oigan lo que yo voy a compartir con ustedes ahora. Es una cosa bien especial, no es una grabación que pueden conseguir en disco, ni nada así por el estilo. Es un homenaje, una inspiración de parte del gran Pablito Rosario, el Indio, al hombre mago, quien es el gran Mongo Santamaria. I want you to hear this. This is Pablito's inspiration with Eddie Guava Rivera on bass.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep quiet. Pablo, you and I are going to keep quiet. We're just going to listen. Okay?
Se cae el tambor, ya no hay alegría. Hoy se cae el tambor del mago Santamaria. Al cielo se lo llevó y el vacío que nos dejó es dolor de corazón que jamás se sanará. Se cae el tambor, mas nunca podré escucharlo. Hoy se cae el tambor, aunque quiera yo guardar. Solo recuerdos hay allí en la tumba fría de quien en vida fue Mongo Santa María. Hoy se cae el tambor, ya no hay alegría. Hoy se cae el tambor del mago Santa Maria. Al cielo se lo llevó y el vacío que nos dejó es dolor de corazón que jamás se sanará.
Ole.
Hoy
se cae el tambor, mas nunca podré escucharlo. Hoy se calla el tambor, aunque quiera yo guardarlo, solo recuerdos hay allí en la tumba fría de quien en vida fue Mongo Santamaria.
El Caribe, ese lugar conocido siglos y siglos por sus misterios y fenómenos. Este es el cuento de uno de sus fenómenos, el cuento de El Mago del Tambor. El Mago del Tambor. En la isla mayor de las Antillas, más de 7 décadas atrás, sobre un tambor, una mano mágica cayó, y al sonar aquel tambor, un sonido nuevo nacía, sonido que le pertenecía al mago del tambor, Mongo Santamaria. En poco tiempo, desde Oriente hasta La Habana, la voz corría de las hazañas del mago Mongo Santamaria. Y cuando de Cuba salió enriquecido aquel tambor, el mundo se enteró de lo que allí ya se sabía, que para siempre llegó el mago del tambor, Mongo Santamaria. Como azabache, bello, bello, bello su negro color, y con mucho dolor los embates de la vida sufría. Largos años de sudor con pocas alegrías, todo por dejar implantado en la historia su nombre, Mongo Santamaria. En el transcurso de los años, yo cuando niño escuché lo que nunca pensé, que algún día con mi güiro, campana, timbal y bongo tocaría al lado del mago Mongo Santamaria. De inmediato me aceptó, pero primero preguntó si yo, igual a él, amaba el tambor. Al contestarle que sí, su gran sonrisa me decía la suerte que yo tenía de aprender lo que la gente no sabía, que más bello por dentro es el mago del tambor. Fue un día frío en febrero del 72 en la ciudad de Nueva York, donde esta amistad se sembró. Y con el repicar del tambor, la amistad creció y se convirtió en lo que hoy siento yo, respeto y amor con mucho calor por mi padre, hermano, tío y amigo Mongo, el mago del tambor. Por 15 años toqué, viajé y discos grabé, hazaña que con orgullo logré. Sin precio esta hazaña que yo logré, algo para contar por el resto de mi vida, día a día. Que yo, Pablo Rosario, el Indio, Agüey, tuve la dicha y bendición de compartir, aprender y ser rociado con alegría en el reino del mago Mongo Santamaria. En el siglo venidero, Cuando físicamente con nosotros el mago ya no esté, recuerden para siempre de quien en vida realmente fue. Un hombre honrado y digno de su lugar, un hombre de quien nadie puede protestar. Así es que aprovechemos hoy que el mago nos puede escuchar y en reverencia todo tamborero en su nombre brindar. Oh sí, vendrán otros con un estilo lucido y otros con linda fachada, pero por dentro, ay bendito, bien vacío. Tarde o temprano a la superficie la verdad saldría, que en el universo un solo mago existía, el verdadero y único mago del tambor, Mongo Santamaria. 6x8 o guaguancó, de todo esto fui testigo yo, tu hijo, hermano, sobrino y amigo, Pablo Rosario, el Indio, Jagüey, de quien nunca te olvidó. Pensamiento de Pablo Rosario, el Indio, Jagüey. Coda. Te quiero mi mago Mongo, te quiero mi mago Mongo, te quiero mi mago Mongo, te quiero mi mago Mongo.
Yeah, that's deep. Every time I hear that, it's like, woof.
Man,
Se me paran los pelos. I get goosebumps. I get goosebumps. I imagine you do too, because you wrote it,
wow.
you felt it, you lived it, you loved it.
Oh man, that's you caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting. You told me we're gonna talk to that, but I forgot that you had that in your hands, you know. And to play that is like reliving every single word, you know, because that started out with when I moved to Puerto Rico in 1987. That was my separation from Mongo, and I kept in touch with him. I would call him Father's Day or, you know, Christmas, his birthday. But then one day I decided, let me write him a letter. And I started to write the letter, and I couldn't get past, Vaya Mongo, how you doing? And I threw the paper away then. How you doing, Mongo? Threw it away. I threw away like 4 or 5 pieces of paper before I just sat down quietly, started meditating, and all those words came to me just like that. Just like that. I was writing in pencil, what they call un borrador. I was writing and writing and writing, and when I looked at the borrador, there might have been 1 or 2 words that I had to change. Everything came out just like that, man, just like that. And then when I told Guagua about it, well, I said, Guagua, actually what happened is somebody, Millo Torres y el Tercer Planeta, a reggae group, the drummer in that band, Riguito Collazo, he lived across the street from me in Puerto Rico, and I gave him his first drum lessons, etc. Later on, he became a drum teacher and all of that. So he recorded with Millo Torres their first album. They go to Florida to promote their album, and somehow my name popped up in the conversation. So the promoter or producer of that program, he said, you know Pablo, and you're going back to Puerto Rico tomorrow? Tell Pablito that we have a special for Mongo July 10th, which is about 2 months from now. And we would like to have Pablo as a surprise guest. I said, okay, cool. So when Rigo came back, he told me, listen, we were on the radio yesterday, and this guy says for you to call him. He wants you as a surprise guest for an interview they're going to have with Mongo. And I said, oh, yeah? Okay. So when I called the guy the following day, I read him my, how do you say borrador in English?
Outline. It was an outline.
Outline. Like a big outline. I read him that, what we just heard. And the guy flipped. I said, what? You've got to read that on the air that day, bro. You got to read that. I said, well, I didn't think, no. I hadn't sent it to Mongo yet. It was in pencil and paper. So when the day came, as a matter of fact, they were playing Afro Blue. At the time he told me to call him, it was 10 p.m. He said, call me at 10 p.m. So when I called, he says, oh, cool, wait a minute. Don't hang up. I said, no, I'm here. And they were playing Afro Blue in the background. And then as they dimmed the sound, he said, Mongo, we have a surprise guest for you, you know, somebody's calling you, an old friend, this, that, and Mongo said, okay, cool. And when I say, vaya Mongo, ¿cómo está? He said, ese es Pablito, ese es mi socio, Pablito. He recognized my voice immediately. So then I told him, listen, Mongo, you know that I've kept in touch with you and everything, but one day I started to write you a letter and I couldn't get past this thought, and this is what came out. So when I started reading that on the air, you know, everybody, when I finished, there was a ton of applause. I thought that it was just the engineer, the disc jockey, and Mongo in the studio. He said, no, man, this place is packed like sardines. The people crying over here, there are people hugging, the whole emotional thing. And then I told Mongo, listen, Mongo, man, I'm going to send you a copy. Okay? I say, okay. So the following day or so like that, I went. I had it printed out real nice on paper with instruments on the outline, and I sent him his copy. A couple of years later, he passes away, and I was the only one that from Puerto Rico that got on an airplane and went to Mongo's funeral and burial. When I got to the parking lot of the Eddie Guagua picked me up in Orlando and drove me to Miami. When we got out of the car in front of the funeral home, I heard a voice in it. Said, oh wow, Pablo and Guagua. And I looked around. The guy was about maybe 200-300 feet away. And I said, Guagua, you know that guy? I said, no, I don't know who that is. The guy started walking. He was leaving. He walked back towards us. He said, wow, Pablo, you made it. I said, yeah, of course. He said, you know who I am? I said, no, man. I said, I'm the producer of that radio program where you talked about this. I said, what? Yeah, that night that you were the guest artist, I was, oh, wow. So he went back into the funeral home with me, and Monguito, Mongo's son, was waiting for me. Because I called him, I told him, I'm on my way, bro. When we opened the door, Monguito was there, and the first thing he said was, Monguito, he brought the poem with him. Because I told the guy in the park, he asked me, did you bring the poem with you? Did you bring? I said, yeah, of course. I brought several copies to give to Monguito, went to Mongo's children, etc., his sisters. I brought like 4 or 5 copies. And the first bit, he brought the poem with him. And Monguito said, tomorrow, Pablito, you're going to bury my father with that poem. And that's how it happened. So like a month later, Wawa comes to Puerto Rico, and I tell him, listen, Wawa, let's put this down on tape before I forget it or you forget it, because at the funeral, Wawa didn't play the bass. So we went into the studio, and then Wawa said, well, I'm going to play Afro Blue while you recite the thing. I said, perfect. And that was one take. We did it just like that, that's why you hear me say, Coda. I gave Wawa the cue when we're going to end it. And it just so happens that I finished reciting and Wawa's finishing the ending of Afro Blue. So, perfect. You know, hey, eso viene del más allá.
Claro que sí, claro que sí.
That comes from beyond, man.
So let me ask you a question. Tu borrador, your draft, the outline that you had written in pencil, did it ever change or did it stay exactly as it was that first time?
It stayed the way it was the first time. I might have changed one word maybe or 2 words, put a comma here, cross a T, things like that. But those words were coming to me and I'm writing them down and then I'm going over them again. And then I'm thinking, well, what rhymes with this? What rhymes with that? And boom, and that will come out. That's why it's called un pensamiento y no una poesía. Es un pensamiento que me vino. ¿Ves? No es una poesía ni un poema. Nothing like that. Es un pensamiento que me vino. Y ese pensamiento, pues yo lo fui escribiendo según venía, pero a la misma vez viviendo de todo corazón mi experiencia con Mongo Santamaria, cómo nos conocimos, cómo fue, cómo él me aceptó, todas las cosas que él compartió conmigo y esto y lo otro. Por ejemplo, eso de la fachada. Vendrán otros con lindas fachadas. Those are these guys that, oh, yeah, I'm big and bad. Yeah. Pero por dentro están vacíos. They're not really happening. They're just a front. You know, I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, but I learned those things. You know, listen, at my age, you just speak the truth, man.
Sure. You've earned it. You've earned it. So let's talk about why you call him El Mago del Tambor. ¿Por qué el nombre que tú le das a él, El Mago del Tambor?
Very good question, and I have the exact answer, the same answer I tell everybody. The reason why I call him El Mago del Tambor, which means the magician of the drum, for those that don't understand, Mago's magician. One night we will play after I played with Mongo approximately 15 years in and out of the band. I did like maybe 4 albums, and I think we recorded 2, 3 tunes that were never released. So when you're with somebody all these years, you feel like you know them. I'm playing bongos next to Mongo Santamaria. Hello, you know, it's like, I don't have to say nothing to nobody else, man. I don't have to mention Larry Hollow, Batacombele. I do, because they're up there too. But when you say I played 15 years, bongos, timbales, and set of drums with Mongo Santamaria, if you don't know who Mongo is, like they say nowadays, Googlealo. Look it up, and you're gonna know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the master. There were 2. There was Chano Pozo and Mongo Santamaria, right?
There you go. And I asked that because there's an anecdote you've shared with me before.
I'm gonna say it.
I'm
gonna say it right now.
You were playing with Mongo.
Yes, right. Okay,
Share that anecdote para que la gente sepa el mago del tambor.
Okay, el mago del tambor, the magician of the drum, is because, like I started to say, when you're playing with someone all these years, you think you know them very, very well. If Mongo does pop, 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 pop on the congas, I know I got to do on the bongo, room, 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 for example. We're having a conversation, and you get to know him and his licks and this and that, his moods, this, that. So one night, we're playing a 6/8 tune, and it wasn't Afro Blue. We had like about 4 or 5 different 6/8s in the repertoire. One of the 6/8 tunes is a tune where Mongo plays it with a stick. He's playing the side of the conga drum and beating the heads also, and with the left hand. So he's playing his patterns and doing his solo, the whole thing. So when it came time for Mongo, we did the tune also. Now it's time for Mongo to take his solo. So I'm playing the cowbell. I'm playing my part. Pa 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 pa. I'm playing my part, and Mongo starts doing his thing. I said, "Well, we've done this tune millions of times," but somehow Mongo started drifting away, and I'm saying, "Well, wait a minute, Mongo, where you going? Now you playing something I never heard before, So meanwhile, we're on a big stage, so I got a big old smile, confident. I know what I'm doing, yeah, But meanwhile, inside, I'm like, "Hey, wait a minute, man. I think I'm getting lost. Wait a minute, where is the one? Where's Mongo going with this, And he got more intense and more intense and more intense and more. I said, "Oh, Lord, please help me, man," because now my smile was kind of like coming out with tears, I'm smiling, making believe everything's cool. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, we finished that tune, and I was like, "Man, thank God that's over. I never heard this stuff." So we go back to the hotel, and at that time, Mongo and I, we shared a lot of time together after the gigs. Either he comes to my room, I go to his room, and we just stay talking and talking and talking. So when I got back to the hotel, I took a shower, and I had that in my head. I said, "Man, what happened tonight? I played that tune, but Mongo went somewhere else." So I called him on the phone. I said, "Mongo, can I come over to the room? I want to talk to you." He goes, "Yeah, come on over, man. Why not?" So when I go to his room, I said, "Mongo, what happened tonight?" He said, what are you talking about? What happened?" I said, "Man, so-and-so tune, you kind of like started playing some stuff I never heard before." He goes, sí, te gustó. He asked me if I liked it. I said, "Yeah, I loved it, but you messed me up, man. You messed me up. I almost dropped the cowbell. I don't know where the hell I was. What was that?" He goes, "Oh, that's something I did when I was a little kid." And I said, "And you remember 60-something years later what you did?" He goes, yeah, I remember my uncles and my cousins, we used to play this, and I used to do that." I said, "You gotta be kidding me, man. You remember tonight? Wow. After all these years, tonight you remember that?" He goes, yeah, you like it? You like?" I said, "I loved it, but you messed me up. I'm not gonna use the exact words that I said with the F word." I said, "You effed me up, man. I was over there shitting green. I'm smiling, making believe everything's cool, and I was lost. That's why I call him El Mago del Tambor, the magician, because he wasn't lost. He knew exactly where he was all the time. He just kept pulling rabbits out the hat, and rabbits and giraffes and kangaroos and elephants, everything. I'm going, you got to be kidding me, man. When's this going to stop? Meanwhile, I had to play my cowbell part, where at a moment, I was just playing for me. I was listening to what I was doing. I wasn't listening to him no more, because I was lost. I was completely lost. And then, he explained it to me. "Hey, that's when I was a little kid. That's what we used to do when I was a little kid." I said, "You got to be kidding me." And so you can't get more Afro-Cuban than that.
Yeah, but it's the idea of him going to another space comes from
Yes.
the fact that in many ways those of you who play percussion, think about this, those of you who are watching right now, you are playing a sound that you hear in your head that's coming from some place.
Yep.
You're playing in the pocket with the rest of the musicians who are in the group, but what you're playing, for instance, in Mírame Más, when you're doing that, all that,
Yeah.
that's coming from some other space that basically comes to you at that
Mm-hmm.
moment, and then you execute it with your
Yeah.
hands, right? So it comes
Yeah.
here, and then here.
Yes.
And sometimes we will see you mouthing it, right? Because you're already sounding it or what's going to be. And so I think in the case of Mongo, who is a very spiritual person,
Oof.
I think when he says, I went back to my youth when I was with my family in La
Yes.
Habana,
He said my uncles.
and
My
my
uncles
uncles
and
en
my
La
cousin.
Habana, esa rumba de calle, de solar, donde
Yes.
entraba todo el espíritu. Y recuerda que era
Yes.
mucho,
Yes.
era la regla, así que
Yes.
eso era santería 100%,
Yes.
no era
Yes.
solamente una rumba de calle.
Right.
Así
Right.
que yo estoy seguro que ahí entró y por eso el mago del tambor. Y hablando
Yes.
del mago del tambor, algunos comentarios por aquí. Elizabeth dice, hermoso tributo al mago Mongo Santamaria. Así que aplauso para ti.
Gracias, Elizabeth.
David dice, borrador, eraser, yes, eraser, but as my dear friend Irashi said, it's also an outline or a draft. You call
Draft.
it a draft.
Draft.
Un borrador. A
Draft.
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 Willie Bruno por aquí dice, biography currently being written on Mongo. Willie,
Yes.
are you the one writing it, Willie? Who's writing the biography on Mongo? Do you know? Willie Bruno
No.
says a biography is currently being written on Mongo.
Yes. I was
So
already interviewed.
Okay, I
Yeah.
thought it was a professor from this area, from
Yes. Yes.
From Quincy
Yes.
College,
Yes.
because I heard about something like that.
Yeah,
Así que
yeah.
we will look for that because, speaking about biography, hablando de biografías, una de las razones por la cual tú haces el tributo es porque la juventud, aunque conocen nombres, miren, por ejemplo, en el caso de Mongo, tenemos Cal Tjader, The Life and Recordings of the Man Who Revolutionized Latin Jazz by Duncan
Yes.
Reed. And
Yes.
this book, if there's anything about this book that I love about this book, is that Duncan has done his job. He has, on this book, been able to basically outline for us dates, times of who participated in what session. I've got the book. So, for instance,
Yeah.
I'll show
Yeah.
you. He's got here April 20th, 1959 was the date. Location, Sunset School Auditorium, Carmel, California, Concert by the Sea. Cal Tjader vibes, Paul Horn, Lonnie Hewitt says the instrument, Ramon Mongo Santamaria, Paul Horn says the side, A, B, C, D, what the tracks were, etc.,
Yeah,
etc.
Yeah.
And it has all the details of every single one of Cal's recordings. So this is
Yeah.
one of the books that I look at because it is so detailed. Now, that being said, going back to Mongo, you will come across a book like this one, Afro-Cuban Jazz, that has Mongo on the cover. And this one basically has a few pages on each artist, the basic information and some discography. But we're looking forward to whatever book comes with regards to Mongo's history and biography and all of that. We are looking forward to that. And Willie Bruno says here that the person writer is Daniel Ibarondo is a biographer. Okay, Willie, thank you for sharing that with us.
That's
I
him.
appreciate that.
That's
Muchas
him.
gracias.
Yes.
Y por aquí, let me get a few other things because I want to get to some questions and comments before we continue our conversation. Por aquí, pam, 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 pam. Michael dice, un músico y amigo completo. Pablo G has a question that we'll answer later, but let's keep this one in our mind. Pablo Rosario, do you have any memory or can recall something about the record where you participated playing bongo and campana named Eddie Molina e Israel Pérez, homenaje a Tite Core Alonso? So think about that for a minute before you answer it, and we'll get back to it.
Yeah, that's something that has to do with Joe Quijano, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Great song. Cal Tjader is a legend. That's Ryan Newfall. Aquí para Eddie Resto, our dear friend, bass player, the best. Vaya,
Yes.
Pablito. Gracias, Jose. Pablito.
Yeah.
David dice, Mongo slaps always sounded like he cranked the shell. Good Lord.
Unique
Octavio dice,
sound.
Pablito Rosario, una leyenda, mis respetos y admiración. Eso viene de Octavio en Medellín. Manuel en California dice saludos. Luis Carrasquillo dice saludos y blessing. Rafael Rivera dice saludos y bendiciones. Por acá, vamos a ver quién más. Hay alguna persona que también tiene otro comentario. Por aquí, we have the following. Pablo, do you still feel Mongo's spirit? I remember a story you told about his spirit when he passed. Does he still visit you? There we go. That's the
Yes.
question.
Yes. Let me go back to one comment there. Guy
Okay.
says Mongo slap sounds like he's cracking the drum or something. That's why I started el pensamiento. Un sonido nuevo nacía. Sobre un tambor, una mano mágica cayó. So it says it right there. The
says
only
it right
one
there.
that got a sound like that till today is Mongo Santamaria. I don't care if the drum was out of tune, if it was 50, that sound is Mongo Santamaria. He's the only one that had that sound, man.
No, he had it.
The only
And
guy.
you know, you identify it immediately. When you hear that, you say, that's
Yeah,
Mongo. That's a
yeah.
Mongo. No hay duda.
And then the other one about do I feel Mongo's spirit, this and that. Mongo came to me at the hour that he passed away.
Tell us that story.
I was living in Puerto Rico. I was staying in the home of Jose Clausel, the timbalero, and I was doing a gig that Friday night. Before I left to the gig, I got a phone call from, I think it was this lady named Elsie. She said, Pablo, I got bad news for you. I think they took Mongo to the hospital. I don't know if he'll make it through the night, this, that. I said, oh, come on, don't tell me that, man. I was on my way to the gig. I had just gotten a cell phone, maybe like a month or so. So when I go to the gig, I play my set, and on my break, I'm staring at the phone saying, I hope that phone doesn't ring. I hope that phone doesn't ring. Because she told me he may not make it through the night. So I finished the gig maybe about like 1:30, 2 o'clock. By the time I got home, it was approximately about 2:30 in the morning. The phone did not ring. So when I hit the sack in my closet, the shoes started rattling around. And I said, what's going on? There are no mice in this house. I'm in a cement home, never had a mouse in the house. And then Jose Clausel, he was in the other room. He was staying there that night also. He was in his room, and I was in the guest room. And then that rattling. And I said, what's going on, man? In my closet, they're like moving my shoes around. So I got up, and I opened the closet, and the shoes were still. Then I said, you got to be kidding me, man. It's like if somebody had a broom and they were sweeping shoes back and forth, but this lasted for like 4 or 5 seconds, and then it stopped. And then it came back again. And by the third time I got up and I looked, and the shoes were perfect. The next morning, Clausel tells me, bro, what was going on in your room? What was all that rattling and stuff in the closet? I said, I don't know, man. It sounded like somebody was messing around with my shoes, moving around, but they were fine. About an hour after that, I said, let me call Florida and find out what's happening. I called Florida, and Elsie told me, Mongo passed away at 3 something in the morning, 3:35, 3:40. I said, that's the same time that my shoes were rattling around in the closet. True story, man. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it.
No, I believe it. I believe Mongo was saying goodbye to you and others that he loved. You being very close to him, there's a reason why you felt him so close, and that's another reason why you pay tribute to him. Before we continue our conversation and more comments, let me just once again let people know why it is that you and I are talking. Amongst many things, we're talking because next weekend, Friday and Saturday, you have put together, this is going to be the third time you present this at the C-Note, a tribute to Cal Tjader, Mongo Santamaria, and Willie Bobo on the 28th and 29th of October. That'll be the C-Note Jazz Club in Luquillo, Puerto Rico. And when we think about a biography of Mongo Santamaria as the one that's being written, and thank you, Willie, for that information, Dr. Daniel Ibarrondo, doing the biography on Mongo, which you've already been interviewed. We have nothing but recollections of seeing Mongo perform, Paul's Mall, and look at when you see these names, Funkadelic Parliament, Miles Davis, Elvin Jones, Mongo Santamaria, Yusuf Lateef, you all were, big league. This was not.
That's right.
This was big league where you would perform with
Yeah.
Mongo in the places that you would perform with Mongo. When Mongo would come into town, here's another one just so people could see. These are Johnny Harmon, Arthur Price, Mongo Santamaria, Big Joe Turner, Kenny Burrell, Carmen McRae, Dizzy Gillespie, Billy Eckstein. That's the level of popularity and respect that Mongo had in the jazz community in particular.
Yeah.
Because those were the places. And then, of course, you pay tribute to him. One of the rare occasions, this was the first and only time I got to see Cal Tjader, was here when we went to the Beacon Theater to see Mongo, Cal, and Willie perform together. Bobby Rodriguez was the opening act. That was one of those Ralph Mercado presentations that I'll never forget. But when we think about Mongo, we have to think and talk about the fact that, you go to Mongo in a very interesting way. And I want to remind people how that happened. But before we go to that, here's a question. Mr. Pablo, what do you think about the late Barreto and Mongo solos on Congo Blue, Congo Bongo? Eso fue de Live at Yankee Stadium. Esa pregunta viene de parte de Jesús Eli Toro Ledesma. Vamos a hablar sobre eso. Por acá también Reinaldo dice, soy un fanático de Mongo por many years. Chequea un video cuando Tito Puente lo invita a tocar y él ya viejito le sacó a la conga un masacón sabrosón y Giovanni lo que hizo fue gritar. Yeah, I can believe that. So let's ask the question about Congo Blue and, I'm sorry, Congo Bongo. I keep saying Congo Blue. Que fue en Yankee Stadium. You were there.
Yeah,
You're part of that album. The famous album Naked is on that, recorded live at Yankee Stadium. Talk us about that experience, Mongo, Santamaria, Yankee Stadium, Finding All-Stars, the Gran Combo, and, of course, the showdown, well, not the showdown, the conga solos between Rey and Mongo.
Okay, I'll be honest. If I'm not mistaken, Mano Dubango, he opened up, I believe. And then came another group. I don't remember who they were. Then we came on. As soon as we finished playing, I had to leave because I was playing with Mongo Santamaria Yankee Stadium, but I was still a member of the Larry Hollow band. And Larry Hollow had a gig at the Corso. So I had to get on the subway right away and get to the Corso to play my gig with Larry Hollow, which Larry Hollow wasn't there because he was with the Fania. So he left the substitute. And when I got to the place was empty. There was like about maybe 10 people there. Everybody was at Yankee Stadium. So I didn't get to witness the interchange between Mongo and Barreto. I didn't see it. I've heard it. I might have seen pieces of it here and there. Pero yo no le doy mucha importancia because we all know that Barreto was a student of Mongo. It's like saying, what do you think about Ray Barreto and Giovanni? Yeah. What do you think about Giovanni and this guy? Everybody's got their own thing, You like Barreto? Great. You like Mongo? Great. It's not who's better, it's that. But you have to be true to the founding fathers.
Yeah. And the other thing was, it was Barreto who followed Mongo when Mongo and Willie went to California to join Cal Tjader. Barreto was the one that occupied that space.
Yeah.
And they had different styles. They had different styles of playing and whatnot.
Right.
So it was a whole different thing.
Right. But at the same time, Tito Puente had to take a couple of tunes out of his book.
Because they couldn't play it. They could play it, but it didn't sound the way it did last week when Mongo and Bobo were in the band. There you go.
You see?
That's why
they were called the dynamic duo.
Yeah, the last time we saw Mongo, I got to see Mongo. I was working with Ruben Blades and Song Cesar Solar. We did a series of concerts in the West Coast, and two of the concerts in San Diego and the Hollywood Bowl included Tito Puente, the Golden Latin Jazz All-Stars, which Mongo was playing in. And it was Eddie Palmieri, Tito Puente, the Latin Golden Jazz All-Stars, and Eddie Palmieri Ruben Blades would say Son Solar. And that was the last time I saw Mongo, that picture right there when we were in Hollywood. Of course, he'll pass on later. But Giovanni was with the band, and that was a kicking concert. I'll never forget that concert. It was one of those amazing days that we just shared. So let's talk a little bit about how it is you come into Mongo sphere. How was it that you have been playing with Willie Colon, you have been playing with Larry Harlow. How was it now that you slide into Mongo's orbit?
Okay. Before we go there, just let me rewind 1 second to Afro Blue.
Okay.
When Mongo, I'm gonna tell you how I teamed up with Mongo. But when you started showing all those posters of all those jazz artists with Mongo Santa Maria's name, with all those jazz artists, Mongo, you know this what I'm about to say, you know this also.
Mm-hmm.
That tune, Afro Blue, came to Mongo while he was backstage on a Dinah Shore show, waiting to
Yep.
go on stage.
Yep.
And meanwhile, he's getting this vibe and this melody, and he shared it with the pianist. I think it was Lonnie Hewitt.
Yep.
And he told him, Lonnie, I got this tune. And Lonnie started listening to it. And he said, all right, man, we're going to jot this down. As soon as we finish this show, we're going to jot it down and work on it, Afro Blue. While he was humming it to Lonnie, Willie Bobo was listening.
Mm-hmm.
And Willie Bobo said this. He said, Mongo, when you record that, all the jazz artists are going to jump on that train.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going to get tuned into this tune. What happened? When he recorded it on that Mongo album, that punched a little hole in the wall. But when he did the college version, that one in Carmel,
Yeah,
when he
Carmel.
did that version, John Coltrane picked up on that.
Mm-hmm.
And when John Coltrane recorded Afro Blue, everybody jumped on that same train. They said, hey, man, if you're a jazz artist and you don't know Afro Blue, you better go home and do your homework because this is what's happening now. The Latino, the Latino touch is invading our jazz touch, but it's right there. It's in the groove. It's in the pocket. As a matter of fact, John Coltrane said so.
Mm-hmm.
You see where I'm coming from?
No, I know
So,
exactly where you're from. And the other thing was that soon thereafter, when the Jader version came out at the
mhm,
concert by the sea, Oscar
yeah,
Brown Jr. wrote lyrics in English to Afro Blue, and then Abby Lincoln recorded on her album Abby's Blue,
yes,
and then
yes,
Oscar recorded the following year, 1960, on his album Sin and Soul. Like I said,
right.
there have been 126 versions of Afro Blue
27.
recorded. Actually, 127 versions of this song recorded in the last 63 songs. It's a classic. It's like one of those
Worldwide,
everywhere,
worldwide,
everywhere, everywhere,
worldwide.
and
Listen,
it.
not only that, many years later, Mongo's daughter,
Yep,
Ile, I think her name is,
yep,
she wrote the lyrics in Spanish.
yes, and
And
that's been
that's on an
recorded
album
too.
by
I've got.
another percussionist, Chembo Corniel.
Yep, I have that one as one of the great ones. And in this album that you see there, Mongo on Fantasy Records, look at the lineup he's got there. Let me pull up the album. I've got it right here. Mongo has Francisco Aguaya, Willie Bobo, Juan Cheda, Modesto Duran, Paul Horn, Alma Gibbon, Armando Perraza, Jerry Rivera, Emil Richards, Carlos Vidal.
Wow.
This was on Fantasy Records, the original selection written by Mongo, recorded by them in Los Angeles, and then of course it was recorded later by Cal Tjader in the album titled Cal Tjader Concerts by the Sea at Carmel at his school. And that auditorium, by the way, has been redone. It's been refurbished. It's a beautiful auditorium. It's a gorgeous auditorium
Mhm.
out there in Carmel by the Sea.
Right.
The great Cal Tjader. So
Okay.
let's go now to how it is
How,
that you
how
go in to
Mongoland.
Mongo. Yeah, go
Okay.
for it.
My brother, may he rest in peace. He's not really my brother from blood, but we grew up together. Eddie Guagua Rivera. I know Guagua since I guess we were 3, 4 years old. Our families um, always partied together. My father was a guitarist. His father was a guitarist, and his mother used to sing. So we grew up in family parties, Guagua and I. Years later, uh, when I was about, I don't know, 13, 14, Guagua, I lived in Brooklyn. Guagua invited me to come to a band to sing. I had recorded a 45 doo-wop record by the time I was 13. So Wawa knew that I used to sing this, that. So he invited me to come to sing with a band in the Bronx. When I got up there, it was like a teenage big band. They had three trumpets, trombone, sax, piano, bass, conga, timbal, and they didn't have a bongo player or a singer. So I started singing and playing cowbell. So Guagua was my connection there. Years later, Guagua winds up playing with Mongo Santamaria, and they had just come back from doing Montreux, Switzerland festival, jazz festival. They did it in I think it was the ending of the summer, somewhere around there, and then they took a break, and then in February, I had just gotten back into New York City from living in Puerto Rico. It was February '71, and Wawa told me, "Listen, I'm rehearsing with Mongo. Come on down to the rehearsal." So I went to the rehearsal, and I met there Eddie Martinez. I had known him before, but there I met him more formally. I met Steve Barrios, Ray Maldonado, trumpet player who I grew up with. So I had already had a, like what they say in Puerto Rico, una pala. I already had a, somebody backing me up. And then there was Bill Saxton, Carter Jefferson, Eddie Guagua, Mongo, and Steve Barrios. The thing is that the very first tune that they start rehearsing is Sofrito. Sofrito nama. So the thing is, that starts out with an interlude on the piano, then he goes into a montuno before the band comes in. So there was a Guido there, just there. And I made a sign to Mongo, Mongo, do you mind if I play the Guido? And he kind of like nodded, but like, like with a serious face, this is not Little League, boy. This is the real McCoy. I said, okay, cool. So I picked up the Guido, and my father had showed me how to play Guido, which my father had learned because my father participated in Orchestra Broadway with Charanga, and somebody showed my father how to play Guido Charanga style. So my father showed me. So that's exactly what I did on that tune. And as soon as I started playing, Mongo kind of started like smiling. And I was like real serious. Yeah, okay, man, don't bite off more than you can chew. So, I'm playing the tune, and everybody's learning the tune. Everybody's learning it at the same time. Okay, let's run it down from top to bottom. I did all the breaks, everything, papa. So Mongo's kind of like, hey, this kid could play the Guido. All right, cool. I put it down. The next tune was a 6/8 cowbell, and there was nobody there to play the cowbell. So I asked him again, Mongo, okay, yeah, all right. So I played that tune, and he was like, hey, this kid's all right, not bad, not bad. The next tune was a tune on bongos. I really don't remember which one it was. And I played it on bongos, okay, bye, say, oh, you're pretty cute, all right. By the time the rehearsal was over, it was like about maybe like a 2.5, 3 hour, there you go, our rehearsal. Mongo says to me, he goes, hey, man, would you like to come and record with me? Would you like to come and record with me? Now, here I am. I'm going, you got to be kidding me, man. I grew up listening to this guy, worshiping him, and he's asking me. I said, yeah, sure, sure. And then Wawa said, hey, Pablo, you got the gig? And Ray Maldonado, yeah. So, like about 2 or 3 days later, we went into the studio to do that album that you just showed there, Up From the Roots. There was only one big problem. The problem was that when I got to the studio, they didn't play any of the tunes that I had rehearsed. Mongo had invited Julito Collazo, Papaito Muñoz, Marcelino Guerra, myself, Steve Barrios, and Mongo to play jam sessions, rumba. And I said, wait a minute, man, I wasn't ready for this, And not only that, Julito Collazo was very upset with Mongo. He said, Mongo, what you bring this piece of crap over here for, And Mongo kept saying, leave him alone, Julito, the kid's all right, leave him alone. Man, with so many heavy guys, you're going to bring this piece of crap over here, the S word, you're going to bring this piece of dump over here, and Mo, leave him alone, you'll see, don't worry about it, this, that. Julito was pissed, man. He said, you should have brought so-and-so, you should have brought so-and-so. The thing is, when it came to actually recording, Steve Barrios told me, you got it, Pablo, you got to play the qua. I said, wait a minute, bro, I wasn't ready. No, you're going to play the qua. I said, oh, man. He said, this is what you're going to do. I said, oh, man, here we go. And then the thing about it, there wasn't no instrument to play the qua on. So I think it was Steve or Marty Martinez. Somebody said, hey, take the piano bench. A piano bench from like a $15,000 Steinway piano to play the qua on the wood of the piano bench. So that's what I did. And then after the first tune, then Julito kind of like, he didn't really look at me that much, but he didn't have that pissed off face. Then the next tune, I did the same thing on the following tune, so like that. There was a tune where I pick up the bell in the middle of the whole thing, blah, 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 blah. And then by the end of the recording, we became friends.
There you go.
But that's how I got into Mongo's band, with that first recording, that first rehearsal of Sofrito.
Check it out. Let's hear a little bit. Let's hear a little bit of En La Habana, Mongo Santamaria, Up from the Roots.
Yeah.
Papadito Muñoz, Julito Villazo on the vocals.
Agarrala que se va, escoria que está en la esquina.
Agarrala que se va.
Así que mando yo. Agarrala que se va. Muchacho que lo coge guardia. Agarrala que se va. Oye bien, se roba un coco. Agarrala que se va. Guardia que está en la esquina. Agarrala que se va.
Chacho.
Lo coge. Agarrala que se va. Guardia que está en la esquina. Agarrala que se va. Muchacho, la esquina. Agarrala que se va. Guardia con el tolete. Agarrala que se va. Le rompe la cabeza.
Classic album. Classic
Jose,
album.
That's why I say at the beginning of our conversation today, that's why I said when I joined Mongo, it's like going from kindergarten to the university overnight. That was my exam right there, and I passed. I passed. I'm not gonna say I passed with flying colors, but I passed. No, and Mongo was like, "Yeah, that's cool. Leave it like that." By the way, that was only one take. That's it. No, leave it like that.
Here's another one. Listen to this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm playing cowbell.
Papadito.
Yeah.
I like the ending on this.
Que la tortilla se ha vuelto pan de maíz. Oye, pan de maíz. Ya se acabó.
Ya se acabó, caballero. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
This album is like, if you don't have this album, Felix Watkins on the flute. Mongo Santamaria wrote this one from the album Up from the Roots Para Ti, the great Mongo Santamaria. Laurie says, Up from the Roots, one of the best albums ever. Yes.
Thank you.
Por aquí Eddie Resto dice, classic recording must have. Aquí Willie Bruno says, Little Angels, one of my favorite cuts, along with Jose Outside. Yeah, that's
Eddie Martinez.
Yes, classic. David says, speaking of the guido, while he was in California with Mongo, Pablo gave me a guido lesson at a jazz club called Hop Sings in Santa Monica, California. ¿Viste? ¿Viste? ¿Cómo se recuerda? ¿Cómo se recuerda?
Yeah. Felix Wilson, el de Panamá.
Frank Watkins. You know, there's in Dr. Benjamin Lapidus' book about the Latin music in New York, there's a chapter dedicated to the great Panamanian musicians, such as Frank Watkins. For many people, because they had the English names Frank Watkins, they assumed they were African American from the United States, and the fact that they played jazz, but they were all from Panama. They had English names from the West Indies. Their family, their ancestries went to Panama, and then they came to the United States to perform in New York. But they had a lot of Latin roots in what they were playing. Frank is an example of this kind of musician.
But that's Felix Wilkins. Ahorita, Jose. That's Felix Wilkins.
Felix Wilkins. That's the one on the flute.
Yeah.
When you hear that slap that we talk about, listen to it.
Yes. I play that tune also in the show.
Here's your classic. This is you.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't play that. No. Play that. I rehearsed the tune, but when we went to the studio, Mongo said, play the bongo. Somebody else played the guido.
All right.
I think it was Papaito on the recording.
On the recordings, Papaito, and you're playing bongo?
Yes.
So, Frito Nama, let me read the personnel. The arrangement for this song was by Neil Correca, the great piano player.
Neil Correca, yeah.
You had Mongo on congas, Carter Jefferson.
Whoop.
Another one on tenor and soprano sax, Bill Saxon on alto baritone sax, Ray Maldonado, Lou Soloff, and John Faddis on trumpets. Casina. Felix Watkins on the flute, and you have Papaito Muñoz conga drums and vocals, Solito Goyazo bata drums, Chequere conga drums and vocals, Pablo Rosario bongo y campana, and Jimmy Johnson plays the drums on Jose Outside. The trumpet solo on Para Ti is Ray Maldonado.
Yeah. Okay.
So, if we were to go to the C-Note. Si tuviéramos contigo en el C-Note el próximo fin de semana, ¿cuál es el repertorio? ¿Quiénes son los músicos que interpretan esta gran música de Cal Tjader, Mongo y Willie Bobo?
Okay, first of all, let me mention the musicians. I have a substitute bass player because the bass player that started the group with me, he had a gig prior. The bass player is going to be Pepe Negron. The piano player is a young man named also a substitute Gambires, and the sax player has been with for the beginning. He's Angel Cuyal. And of course, the vibe player is like I like to introduce him as the new sensation of Puerto Rico. His name is Tommy Ramos. He's only 22 years old, and the little kid is a killer on the vibraphone, on percussion, on piano. He's an arranger. He's only 22 years old, man. And it's like a blessing that came. So those are the musicians on the gig. Oh, and the conga player is an old friend of mine, Federico Delgado. We call him Papo Cadena. So the repertoire, since this is my third time around, the first time I went there, I played Para Ti, because what happens is I'm playing Cal Tjader music, and then I focus on Mongo as a composer. So then I do Para Ti, and I do Afro Blue, and I talk about other tunes that Mongo composed. The second time I went, I had to play Afro Blue. We played Wachiwara, but the second time I went, I told the people, listen, you know Mongo as a composer from Afro Blue and Para Ti and Come Candela thing, but did you know that Mongo is a poet? He wrote in 1965 or 64. There's an album called El Bravo, where he has a great band on that album, including Nacho Sanabria singing Mantequero de Solal and Casabe con Longaniza. But the hit of the album was a bolero. The bolero is called Miedo, and it's sung by the timbal player Carmelo Garcia. Out of that whole album, they have monster tunes. The one that was the hit was the bolero. So I sing that bolero on my second time around. I sung that bolero, and the people, they were, what? I thought Mongo played congas. I said, you thought he played congas? Listen to his poetic, his structure. He wrote the lyrics to that tune are like very, very heavy. So I said, don't just judge him because of his color and his instrument, This guy is a poet. And when they listened to the lyrics of Miedo, they said, damn, I didn't know Mongo was up. Well, now you know. That's what I'm doing. That's why I'm giving him a tribute, and I'm featuring him as a composer. Not just Afro Blue, not Para Ti, not Come Candela, not Manila, not Los Pollitos, a ton of tunes that he wrote. But this one tune, the only bolero that he wrote, and it was the hit of the album at that time. So I sing that tune. So that's part of the repertoire this time around. And also, I'm going to let you in, Jose, because Cal Tjader started out with his own thing with Dave Brubeck and Paul Desmond and all those guys. Cal Tjader, I think it was a Christmas Eve, he got a telegram from George Shearing. George Shearing, the British jazz pianist, blind man. He had a telegram from George Shearing. Cal, we want you to be part of my group in the next few weeks in Chicago. Here's the plane tickets. And so Cal was like, what? George Shearing. Okay. So because George Shearing is one of Cal Tjader's ex-boss, I'm going to open up this show with Nothing But the Best.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I got you know what tune I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I got you. Yes. Good
okay,
for you.
So I'm opening up with Nothing But the Best. And at the same time, I'm honoring George Shearing. But because Cal Tjader played with George Shearing, as a matter of fact, because of playing with George Shearing, was that Cal Tjader winded up in New York City. And Alma Kiva took him to the Palladium to see Puente play with Mongo. And so all of that is connected. So I open up with that, with Nothing But the Best. And then I go into, I think I play Wachiwara. After Wachiwara, I play Palnero's Point. After Palnero's Point, I play Willie Bobo's Guajira, dedicated to Willie Bobo. After Willie Bobo's Guajira, I think we play Continental, back to Cal Tjader. Then after Continental, I do the Bolero Miedo, I do Afro Blue, and we finish off with Mambo Mongo.
There you go. So you
So
got the whole repertoire, what you will be seeing if you go to the C-Note Friday and Saturday.
yeah,
Speaking about Miedo, he then re-records that song on his album Mumbane with Justo Betancourt singing the
yeah,
song.
yeah. Approximately 20 years later. Yeah.
Willie Bruno says, Hubert Laws covered that tune in Flute by Laws. Michael Toyendi said, check out Hubert Laws' version of Miedo. So those of you who are listening, check it out. Another
have
great
that also.
version.
Yeah.
Y aquí Ángel Pérez dice, gracias a José Mazó por traernos este conversatorio con Pablo Rosario, una leyenda viviente de jazz y la música latina. Sí, señor. Por acá arriba, there was another comment having to do with, let me see, somebody that played with your father. Where can I find that? Michael, Miguel Toyin, he says, my first gig as a conguero was with Nelson, Pablito's dad, and with Justito, Pablito's uncle, back in the 60s en el barrio obrero, Puerto Rico. ¿Qué clase de escuela?
Yeah, Nelson. Oh, yeah.
Con lo grande, con lo grande. Willie, por aquí Willie dice, Mazacote was one of my favorite cuts off that Mongo album. Yeah, Mazacote es un tremendo Mazacote. Eso sí que es otra canción clásica de tambor y percusión. Y por aquí Reinaldo dice, Mongo conocía bien el ambiente. El LP de Mongo que me impactó fue La Bamba. Mongo tocó Latin Jazz, Rock. Nadie tocaba rock en las congas, eran muy pocos, sí, así era. Así que todo el mundo tiene su historia de cómo es que Mongo, aquí Willie dice, the Red Vinyl albums. I've got a few of the Red Vinyl albums from
Fantasy.
It was Fantasy Records. Remember, Fantasy Records was the one that would do the Red Vinyl.
You know what? Because those guys, they were into plastic textiles and all that stuff in them days. The owners later on of Fantasy. So they said, well, as long as we're going to get into the record business, let's do these transparent red vinyl records. They were there. So everyone identified Cal Tjader with the red vinyl records. Because that was what you were doing. Later on, somebody did a blue one and they did a yellow one. But those red albums were like, no, that's Cal Tjader. You don't even have to, put it on. Just take it out the sleeve, and I already know that's Cal Tjader.
You know who it was.
He was the only one.
Let's talk a little bit about the musicians you shared the stage with when you started touring with Mongo Santamaria. ¿Quién eran algunos de los músicos que tú puedes compartir quienes estaban en la tarima contigo durante los 15 años, obviamente un sinnúmero de músicos, pero que tocaron con ustedes, contigo y con Mongo Santamaria? ¿Quién eran los compañeros? Who was your roommate when you were touring? Who were the people that were part of that band?
I had several roommates, but one of the gentlemen is in tune right now, and that's Eddie Resto in California, bassist. One of the baddest bass players, if you will. So Eddie Resto, now we go back with Willie Colon, with Hector. We've done a bunch of things, but when we teamed up with Mongo, we traveled a bit. So hello to Eddie Resto, who's recovering from a little hip surgery there. So Eddie Resto was one of the guys. Of course, Eddie Guagua, my brother, who was the one that brought me to Mongo Santamaria. Eddie Guagua is beyond. I have no words. Where Eddie Guagua was separate. Then there was the Ray Maldonado, who I grew up with. Ray Maldonado. Ray Maldonado was the brother of Richie Ray. Ray Maldonado, I know him since I was he's the one that taught me how to swim. Ray Maldonado on trumpet. Then, of course, Carter Jefferson, sax player. Bill Saxton. Later on, Tony Henson, who I played a lot of years and recorded with him with Mongo. Tony Henson, tenor, soprano, flute. Sam Furness, also, he passed away very young. Sam Furness, alto and sax. E.J. Allen, trumpet player also. Eddie Martinez, piano. My mentor, master, Steve Barrios, drums, timbales, what have you. He's like another encyclopedia. So many cats that come to my mind that Johnny Almendra on timbales, who I brought into the band, which he's not doing too good. So keep your prayers for Johnny Almendra also. Johnny Amandra. There was a lot of different cats, man. But those are the main guys that come to my mind right now.
Speak a little bit about when you mentioned some of those names. What was the sound that made it so that whoever came into the band immediately was able to gel,
Hmm.
right? Because it was the saxophones, trumpets, flute, percussion, the
Hmm.
ability. But what was it that made it that these musicians, in a moment's notice, would become part of this band and immediately know and feel the repertoire as if they had been playing for years? And you did it for 15 years, so you saw people coming in and out. What
Yes,
was it?
yes, yes. Okay. First of all, whoever came in to the band, they had to. For example, when I first went into the band after that recording with Mongo, it was Doug Harris, I believe, was the musical director, and Ray Maldonado was on trumpet, and Carter Jefferson. Um, so after that, the guys that came in, you had to know Mongo music, number one, or at least heard some of the stuff to, come and approach that music. So you had to go there. There was an incident there where I winded up playing drums because the drummer that was there left the band. I was playing timbales and bongos, and at the auditions, I was living upstate New York, and I had to come in Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for these audition of drummers. The second week, we had already auditioned approximately 12 drummers, and Mongo didn't like any of them. And I told Mongo, after like there were like maybe like 4 or 5 guys waiting to audition. I told Mongo, give me the sticks, man. He said, no, 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 stay right where you are. That's what I want to do. I said, Mongo, but you auditioned already. This is our second week auditioning drummers, and you don't like none of these guys. They're all right in this part, and that part they're not, and this and the clave and this. Give me the sticks. No, no, no. Stay where you are. And then from the back of the room, may he rest in peace, Marty Scheller, Mongo's right hand man, he said, Mongo, give Pablo the sticks. He said, no, Marty, I want Pablito here in the timbales. Mongo, give Pablo the sticks. So Mongo said, okay. So he gave me the drumsticks. And he said, what do you want to do? So I said, well, let's do Cousin Jody. I had
Mm,
already recorded Cousin Jody at
mm,
Yankee Stadium, so I knew the
mm,
tune, and it
mm,
was a funk tune. As a matter of
mm,
fact, the only ones that knew the tune were Mongo and I. The rest of the band, the bass, they didn't know it. So we did Cousin Jody. After Cousin Jody, I did another 2 more tunes on drums, and then I became the drummer for about almost 2 years. So now I'm playing bongo, timbal, and drums. But just to give you an example of some of the things that went on. And then another horn player, Todd McKinney, I believe his name was. He came on the scene, and he only lasted like about 1 or 2 gigs because he thought, yeah, I could read the music and play, and the rehearsal's okay. But when we went on the road, at the end of the night, his lip was all messed up, and we got
mm.
to play again tomorrow night, and for a week. So that he only lasted like about a week and change. I believe Eddie Resto wasn't on that gig, but he didn't make it. And then another sax player, he lasted maybe like a week or two. Another bass player, he also lasted like about a week or two. So it wasn't easy to just come in there, like I learned this from Mario Bauza.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you that don't know who Mario Bauza is, like I said before, Googlealo, look him up. Mario Bauza is considered the godfather of Latin jazz. He was one of the main guys, the main ingredients of mixing, American music with Afro-Cuban drumming. Mario Bauza. One time I went to a rehearsal. He was going to play at the Village Gate, and the conga player didn't show up. So Joe Santiago, my compadre, my rest of me said, Mario, Pablo's there. I said, okay, Pablito, play the congas through the rehearsal. So I played the conga at the rehearsal, and halfway through the rehearsal, he stopped the rehearsal, and he told one of the trumpet players, I don't remember his name, he told one of the trumpet players, says, listen, let me tell you something, man. You can read all that music, all them notes, but can you play? Can you play? I don't care. You read everything. Can you play? I'll never forget that. It's like, okay, so you could read. Yeah, you big and bad. But your sound is like, like a student
Mm-hmm.
because you're reading the music and you're reading on the part. Yeah, but I don't hear I don't hear the gusto.
Mhm.
I don't hear the rock. Eddie Resto knows
The
what I'm
flavor, el
saying.
sabor, que no
El
tenía
sabor, the
sabor,
flick of it
no
all.
tenía sabor.
Are you in the pit? Are you in the mud hole with all that grease there? Are you there? If you're not, if you're skimming on top, then you're cool, man. You got on white gloves and everything. No, man, get your fingernails dirty. That's what Mario Bowser was saying. I always remember that. And I told my cats the same thing too. I said, you guys can read all that music, but can you play? I want to hear you play, man. I want to
Tiene
hear
que tener
you.
sabor, tiene que
And
tener sabor.
that's the same thing that Ray Barretto told Ray Maldonado when Ray Barretto called Ray Maldonado to play trumpet. I was there when Ray got that phone call. And Ray Maldonado told Barretto, he said, Barretto, but you want me to be like a Negro Vival? I can't be like a Negro Vival. Barretto said, no, I want you to be Ray Maldonado.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to be you. You play your stuff because I heard you and I know you can play. So it's the same concept. So to answer your question, a lot of cats came in and out. Some lasted, some didn't. But when I was there, it was E.J. Allen on trumpet, Tony Hinson on tenor saxophone, Sam Furness, who passed away, on alto sax.
Eddie Resto dice, rock is everything. Dice Eddie
Yeah.
Resto, rock is everything.
Yes, that's it. That's the thick of it all, man. The groove. The groove is the rock.
You mentioned Marty Scheller. I want to talk about Marty Scheller. Before we talk about Marty Scheller, David Romero dice, excuse the technical question. What groove is sofrito? Cha-cha, montuno, guajira. You're on bongos, so purists would not call it cha-cha. School us.
No,
Wants
no.
to know what you would call it.
Yeah, es una guajirita. Es una guajirita. Es una guajira, of course, with jazz overtones, and concepts. It's not a traditional guajira. And I'm on bongos because at the studio, I said, toca el bongo, ahí toca el bongo. Because he didn't want me to leave the bongos to go record the guido. Mm-hmm. He said, Papaito could play the guido. You play the bongos and you pick up the bell and this part. I said, okay, cool. Yeah, so you could call it, no es un cha-cha-cha, a strict cha-cha-cha, like, sube, monito, sube.
Yeah.
Sube, que yo, that's a straight ahead cha-cha-cha. Yeah. So you can call it una guajirita with jazz overtones.
Aquí, Lorick dice, wish you could be the house band at C-Note or at least play weekly so we can get down to hear you. Your fans in Miami. There you go. Your fans in Miami want to make sure that they can catch you on a regular basis. Now, when Papo Vasquez, one of your bandmates with Batacumbele, he's going to be at the C-Note in November. You're going to be where? Where are you going to be playing when he's at the C-Note?
We're playing. I have a second gig at November 19th. Mm-hmm. That's going to be in the San Juan Santurce area. Papo's going to be playing the same date in Luquillo at the C-Note. What I'm doing there, though, is 2 sets, not 2 shows.
Okay.
2 shows means I repeat the same show at 7 and at 9 and at
people come in, new people.
At this next gig on the 19th of November, I'm doing 2 sets, which means they're different tunes. I got approximately 14 to 15 tunes for that night.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
On the 19th, when you're playing and Papo's at the C-Note, we'll be here at Sculla's Jazz Club enjoying Eddie Palmieri. And the night before, we're going to be with Daniel Diaz enjoying him.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Marty Scheller. But before we do so, here's a cut that you know very well, and it's one that is one of our favorites. Listen to this. Escuchemos a Mongo Santamaria. El disco se titula Soy Yo. La canción Salazar.
Salazar, yeah.
On this particular cut, you're on bongo
Yes. Yeah.
from the album Soy Yo on Concord Picante. And this song was written by Marty Scheller. And
Yeah.
so let's talk about the great Marty Scheller and the influence of Marty Scheller in Mongo's sound, Mongo's recordings, Mongo's performances, and the bands that you were able to participate with. Marty Scheller, of course, being so instrumental in what was happening. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Pablito Rosario en el bongo, Tony Hinson en el saxofón.
Yeah.
Hablemos sobre Marty Scheller, esa canción, composición de Marty Scheller, productor, trompetista, que falleció hace poco, paz descanse. Hablemos sobre Marty Scheller y Mongo Santamaria, ese junte, ese binomio.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think I was one of the last persons to speak with Marty Scheller before he passed away. He passed away a couple of weeks ago. I believe it was the 16th or the 17th, 18th of September. I was in New York City visiting my brother Charlie, who's in the hospital. And before going to visit my brother, I called Marty and told him, Marty, I'm coming into New York. I'm going to come and try and see you. He's all right, Pablo, cool. That'd be nice, man. Beautiful, this, that, pop, pop. When I get to New York, Marty lives in Delaware, which is approximately Newark, Delaware. It's approximately 3.5 hour drive from where I was in Brooklyn. So I had a hard time trying to get somebody to take me there. So I called him on a Saturday. And actually, I called him a little early. I broke my own little rule of calling musicians after 12 noon. You know, I called him like about 10:30 in the morning. His wife answered the phone, and Marilyn, she said, "Well, Marty's still sleeping." I said, "Oh man, I broke my own rules." You know, she said, "Don't worry about it. I'll tell him that you called, and he'll call you back." So I spoke with Marilyn a little while, and then Marty called me back about 1 in the afternoon. So I told him, "Listen, Marty, I'm gonna try. Today's Saturday. I'm going to try my best to get over there." He said, "Pablo, don't worry about it. With this phone call, it's enough for me." I said, "No, seriously, Marty, I'm going to try. I'm not going to give up. You know, I'm leaving Wednesday back to Puerto Rico, but I'm going to try my best to get over there." He kept insisting, "Don't worry about it. I'm telling you, look, Pablo, there's only 5 or 6 people in my heart, and you're one of them." I said, "Come on, Marty." He said, "Yeah, really. The only cats is you, this guy." He mentioned the names. Hubert Laws, of course, was there. Bobby Pacelli. He mentioned some other childhood friend, whatever. The thing is that I spoke with Jose Clausel, and he says, "Okay, man, let's see if we could do this Monday." I said, "All right, cool." So I figured I'll call Marty Monday, and I'll find out the directions, this, that. When Monday came around, Clausel had a problem with his car. I said, "Oh, man, wow, can't do it." Then one thing led to another. Before you know it, I'm back in Puerto Rico. And then that Saturday that I got back, I look and Marty passed away a week later after I spoke with him. So I was really like heartbroken. First of all, we go back 50 years. I met him, you know, that recording of Up From the Roots is where we became friends. That was February of 71. So it's approximately 51 years, something like that we knew each other. You know, and we would talk all the time. I mean, I talk with Marty at least once a month. I would call him, he would call me, just tell jokes back and forth. So Marty was a very, very, you know, a dear friend, and I was very heartbroken. As far as the music goes, I already told you, he was the one that suggested to Mongo to let me play the drums. But other sessions that I've done with him with Willie Colon and Mongo, of course, he was always there for all of Mongo's recordings, all of Mongo's rehearsals. Just a wonderful, wonderful person, man. Marty was, and with a pen and pencil, forget it. That Con Miedo that you mentioned before, that was recorded by Justo Betancourt on Ubane, Marty Scheller is the arranger of that tune, that version. So Marty was, he's really dearly missed, man. I really miss him a lot because I used to talk to him all the time. We had tons of jokes back and forth, So I really miss that. I really miss that.
Now, Marty was very special. We're listening to
Very.
Mongo Santamaria in the background. Salazar, Soy Yo is the album. As the sun sets in Puerto Rico,
Yeah, man.
aquí David dice, para ti, can I send you my address so you can send me that paisaje in your t-shirt? David que está en Las Vegas. Entonces él dice, my brother.
Yeah, David, I miss you too, man. I really do. I remember you very well, man. I really do.
Aquí
Great
Lauren,
cat, great musician too.
Lauren dice, are you playing at Boronia in Santurce? Is that where you're going to
No.
play in November 19th? No? Okay.
No, it's called Music Bar and Lounge. Music Bar and Lounge on the street, Loíza Street. That's
Okay.
in the Santurce area.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the Santurce area. Calle Loíza, Music Bar and Lounge. It's a very it holds about 200 people or so, free parking. It's going to be nice, man, because the show that I have there, I have a couple of surprises there also, too. I don't want to go about it, but, if I tell you,
No.
it's a surprise.
It won't be a surprise if you tell us. Okay, listen to
That's
this.
right. Ooh, my yeah. One take.
Charlie Palmieri on piano.
Yeah, Jose, let me speak.
Yeah, go ahead.
Listen, Jose. That album is the first and only album that I recorded in 8 hours. We did just about all the tunes with one take. This tune, My Yeah, with Charlie Palmieri on piano, it was one take, and it was intense, and Charlie didn't like it. And Marty Scheller, Charlie, that was great. Charlie, leave it alone. Don't touch it. No. Let's take another one. That's the only tune that we did 2 takes. Everything else was one take on that whole album.
This is one of my favorite tracks. Marty Scheller arrangement on this.
Yeah.
Sam Furness on the baritone.
Wow.
Ray Martinez on bass.
Yeah.
Piro Rodríguez, trompeta.
Yeah, that too, yeah. Oh, no, 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 no. No.
The credits have it as Mercedes Valdez on vocals, along with
No,
Denise Nortes Wiener, Ada Xavier. Who was on that?
no, no, no. It's Nancy O'Neill. Nancy O'Neill. That's a big mistake. Mercedes Valdez passed away.
So on this one, they put down Ada Xavier, Denise Nortes Wiener, and Mercedes Valdez as being the chorus.
No, no sé quién es. To me, it's Nancy O'Neill. No sé.
In 1987?
Yeah, that was my last album with Mongo. That was released in 87, but recorded in 86.
A slap.
That's Willie, let's see the flashlight.
David pregunta, Pablo, what do you think Mongo's opinion would be of the evolution of Afro-Cuban percussion playing?
What do you think Mongo's opinion would be
Of
of
the
the
evolution of Afro-Cuban percussion playing. I guess it
He
would
would be,
be
he would be, he would be impressed. He would like it as long as some of the stuff has its roots, foundations. Because today a lot of the guys they use that as an excuse, evolution, just to go off wherever they want to go to, and then they're not. Look, this is the thing. Mongo and Tito Puente, just those two. I'm going to mention those two for now. Even myself, Mongo and Tito Puente are musicians who play percussion. They're not percussionists who are musicians. You see where I'm coming from? Mongo es un músico que toca conga. Tito Puente es un músico que toca timbales. Yo me considero un músico que toco percusión. So that comes first. So nowadays you have a lot of guys that the percussion end of it comes first. There's a guy playing timbales. All of a sudden, a beautiful woman walks in front of the stage and he hits a cymbal crash to get her attention. You play the cymbal because the music calls for you to play the cymbal, not because some foxy mama walked in front of the stage. I'm trying to get some lighting over here, Jose. But anyway,
it's my fault.
that
I've got you overtime. We're already 26 minutes over, and I still haven't gotten to Orinoco, Todo el Mundo y Charlatán. So hang in there for a little bit longer. Como ustedes pueden ver, ya en Puerto Rico está casi de noche y el hombre está sacando hasta un flashlight. Mira, que está alumbrando muy bien. Ahora se ve. All right, that's what we're talking about. David is in Las Vegas loving this because he can see your T-shirt that he wants to have a copy. He wants you to send him one. Taíno que tú eres.
That's the coquí. That's the Taíno coquí.
Mira, hablando de percusión cubana, ahora vamos a entrar a Orinoco, 2 canciones, y entonces me despido. Y tengo como la ñapa a David Díaz, uno de los potritos, estudiante del mole. Hablemos sobre un potrito como un David Díaz.
Tremendous cat. See, that's a guy that he's innovative and everything, but he sticks to his roots also. You know, he sticks to his roots, man. Same thing like with Paoli Mejia and Martinez. There's a bunch of cats that are evolutionized the drumming and the techniques because first of all, it's other kind of music right now that's being played too. You know, but they play their tumbals and listen to that. They're doing their own thing, but they don't like overplay.
Hmm.
That's what I'm trying to say about this overplaying thing. It's like as soon as the tune comes on, they're riffing all over the place. Brr, brr, brr. The melody hasn't even started, and they're already like making noise, as I like
Hmm.
to call it. You know, where you got to get into the groove. We talked about this in the beginning of the show. The groove is the most important thing. Besides, you're an accompanying instrument, a conga player. You're an accompanying instrument. You're not a harmonica, a trumpet, a sax, or nothing. You're not a melodic leading instrument. You're an accompanying instrument. So accompany the melody. You dig? All right. You're the leader of the band. You can do whatever you want, you know, but just don't like overplay. That's where you start, you know, messing things up. I believe that. And I believe Mongo would think the same thing too. You know, because when Giovanni came out, Mongo was very impressed with Giovanni and he liked him. He said, wow, that's beautiful what you're doing. But Giovanni had already been studying Mongo and Tataguines and a bunch of other guys before he came out with his own thing.
So you were part of Batacombele,
Yes.
el songo que trajo el sabor
Yeah.
de el gran Cachete Maldonado, que en paz
Yep.
descanse.
Yeah.
El sobrino tuyo, Pirulo, y la
Yeah.
tribu. Pirulo brings a little bit of that timba.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about that in the sense of what I think David is asking about the evolution of the Afro-Cuban percussion, because the Afro-Cuban
Yeah.
percussion, you know, lo que es la rumba y guabancó y todo lo demás, entonces un songo que viene con
Yeah.
batería,
Yeah.
y entonces la timba, que es el sonido también ahora bailable
Mhm.
cubano, en el cual
Yeah.
Pirulu, tu sobrino, es parte de eso. Hablemos un poco sobre eso.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look. First of all, it's not the what they're playing is not the traditional salsa, where you have an introduction, you have a song, you have a break, and then you have coro and soneos. With the timba, you have more of a mixture of like the song mixed in with more with the arrangement of what's going on. They're each backing each other up, and you don't necessarily have to play the salsa style conga or tumbadora for that matter, or timbales for that matter. You're playing something else which is called timba. Dig? And so the evolution there is happening. You dig? And it keeps growing and growing. At the same time, if you listen to that, whoever's doing it, you know, the best way they can, it's not overplaying. They're not cluttering the tune. You know, the other day I did a session, about 2 weeks ago, I did a session, and they had drums on it. They asked me to put the cowbell. They had congas. Then there was a guy who wanted to put timbales on it. I said, well, I don't know what you're going to do. You don't fit in there. But yeah, we could put the timbales here. He kept insisting. So, all right, they let him put the timbales. But then once he got on there, he wanted to start putting licks all over the place. And I said, listen, man, the drummer's already doing that. Besides, what you're doing on the cowbell and timbales is what I already laid down. So there were guys that's why I say Puente es un músico que toca timbales. There are guys that toca timbales que no son músicos. You
Well,
dig?
yeah, no, we dig
They're,
it. We dig
they're
it.
into their own little thing. Watch me. Watch
Dig
me.
it.
I know how to swim. You know?
Mira
And
lo
it's,
que
it's
dice.
not about that.
Mira, Mickey Toyen dice que Palmieri always reminds us the music must have tension and resistance. Vaya, Pablito, pa'lante. That's
Mickey
true.
Toling, that gentleman right there,
Yeah.
he's another historian. Mickey Toling is the nephew of Johnny Palomo, Johnny Pacheco y su charanga's first conguero.
Mhm.
So Mickey Toling knows a lot about what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He's another school right there. So say hello to Mickey.
Mickey, saludo de parte de Pablito. Y
Yeah.
Lori dice, bravo maestro, talking about you. So in the
Yeah, thank you,
background,
Lori.
before we let you go in the dark, and thank you for bringing the flashlight. Thank you
Yeah,
to your
yeah.
family for making that happen. Hold on a second. Listen to this. Oigan esto.
Todo el mundo me habla de ti, todo el mundo quiere saber por qué ha sido que he perdido ese querer. Todo el mundo me habla de ti, todo el mundo quiere
Joe Santiago.
miró ni sonrió sin contestar. Mas no saben que yo de ti nada sé.
La canción Todo el Mundo, Pablo el Indio Rosario, Orinoco. Cuando yo oigo eso, Pablo, yo pienso que en alguna manera u otra, esta persona como que te da la bendición para tú entrar en este tipo de sonido, y es nada más y nada menos que el gran Cachete Maldonado, que en paz descanse. Viendo a Cachete en esa foto, viendo la foto de ustedes, Batacumbele original, con esos monstruos de músicos que se encuentran ahí, Chalecoto, Guagua, Ángel, ahí está Pablo, qué banda, qué bandón, qué bandón. Qué bandón. Y entonces yo oigo Orinoco. Conéctame, Cachete, con lo que tú haces en Orinoco.
Okay, first of all, Cachete has nothing to do with Orinoco.
I know that. I know he has nothing to do with it. I'm just saying, when I hear you doing this, I feel the spirit of Cachete saying to you, inventa, tírate, llévate a otro lugar, because it was with the Batacumbele where you were able to do that.
Yeah, but what happened with this thing of I had already done Batacumbele, returned to the United States, and now I'm coming back to Puerto Rico. And when coming back to Puerto Rico, I had already decided I'm gonna make my own jazz, Latin jazz group, and a little bit more. That's where the singing comes in. I had spoken with Joe Santiago, may he rest in peace, in New York City, and I told him, listen, Joe, I'm gonna go back to Puerto Rico, and I'm gonna make a group over there, jazz and Latin jazz. So Joe has suggested this tune many years ago. Joe is the arranger of this tune, but look what happened. Joe got this tune when he lived in the Bronx. He was able to, with a shortwave radio, he was able to catch Cuba, and they used to play this tune, Todo el Mundo. This tune is by Revés. And Joe, little by little, hearing it every night, he started writing out the chords, the this, the that, until he did the whole arrangement. So he had that in his head for a long time. Finally, when I came to Puerto Rico, he came also a while after that, and he did this chart for me. So that concept of me singing Todo el Mundo with drums, because there's no timbales on there, it's just drums and congas. And guido. So I already came with that concept, of doing my own thing. So Cachete, as a matter of fact, I had Cachete as guest artist with for several times.
Todo el mundo. Ahora viene la canción titulada Charlatán. Por aquí dice Ivonne Hernández, wow, qué placer fue oír esta entrevista, gracias. Y David nos informa, Batacumbele's drummer José Martínez passed away just a couple months ago. Sí, me recuerdo de su fallecimiento. Gracias, David, por recordarnos. Escuchemos un poco de Todo el Mundo. Joe Santiago en el bajo.
Yeah, Jose, that
I-
tune is a tune that I used to play with Mongo. I mean, you know, when I came to Puerto Rico, E.J. Allen is the composer of that tune. I told him, E.J., give me the score of that tune. He gave me that. He gave me Espíritu Libre, and Joe gave me Todo el Mundo, and a couple other things. But that tune originally is called Skull's Bopper. Skull's Bopper.
Skulls Bopper.
Yeah, Skulls.
Stuns Bopper.
No, Skulls.
I can't hear you.
S-C-U-Z-Z.
Skunks. Skunks. Okay, now I hear you.
With a Z. Okay, Skull's Bopper. That's like, yeah, man, you know, I'm a Skull's Bopper, man. You know. So, I changed it in Spanish to Charlatan.
Listen.
A charlatan.
I'm loving the horns. Aquí Pablo G dice, Roena también grabó ese mismo número en 1980, pero lo llamó Todos Quieren Saber. Como dato curioso, lo vocalizó Mario Cora.
Yeah, he's talking about todo el mundo.
¿Perdón?
He's
Okay.
talking about todo el mundo.
Todo el mundo.
Yeah.
El charlatán. Pablito el Indio Rosario, Orinoco.
Yeah.
Bueno, mi hermano, hemos empezado en la luz del sol boricua y terminamos en la noche al atardecer con la linterna allá en el monte de Puerto Rico. ¿Qué más te puedo decir? I just want to say, bro, again, thank you for taking time. Thank you for sharing this great music and history lesson. You are an open history book. You're one of our living angels, as I've said before. It's because you and other musicians that we feel peace, love, and happiness in our hearts, and joy and harmony in our lives. I truly believe that you have a role that has been so important over all the years that you've shared your talent, your skills, your passion, your love of music with us, that has made it possible for us to see light where there is darkness. And you've just done that with your flashlight. And to bring us, uplift our spirits when we are down, to bring us healing when we are not feeling well. And we know you're connected, brother. So I just want to thank you. Congratulations on this upcoming 2-day performance at the theC-Note. I know it's going to be a blast. It's going to be sold out. And I hope that we'll, at some moment in time, maybe here in the United States, we'll get a chance to enjoy the same thing that the people at the theC-Note will be enjoying. Por aquí Eddie Resto dice, love you, Pablo Jose, gracias. Long live the Ronk. Luis Garrasquillo dice, gracias, great interview. Muchas gracias, Luis. Te dejo el micrófono para que te despida tú.
Bueno, José, otra vez a ti te doy las gracias por darme la oportunidad de dirigirme hacia el pueblo, hacia el mundo, porque tu programa lo oye mundialmente. Es un honor, un placer y sinceramente sin personas como tú, pues me dan la mano tremendamente para, tú sabes, para yo seguir echando para adelante, porque este proyecto que yo tengo de tributo a Mongo y Willie Bobo, eso yo no lo pienso dejarlo aquí en Puerto Rico, yo quisiera llevarlo a otros pueblos, tú sabes, porque ese repertorio, si yo no lo toco, nadie lo toca. A lo mejor hay unos grupos parecidos y tocan a lo mejor un tema que otro, pero yo estoy dando una cosa cronológica. Por ejemplo, entro en cosas de Cal Tjader, entro en cosas de Willie Bobo, entro en cosas de Mongo. No solamente eso, pero doy anécdotas también porque yo estaba ahí, yo lo viví. Tú sabes, hablo de Mongo, me dijo esto, me enseñó aquello y lo comparo. Por ejemplo, el bolero Ese Miedo. Cuando yo canto eso, la gente se queda en bobo y dice, yo nunca pensé que Mongo tendría una mente para escribir una letra tan preciosa, tan poética, porque lo ven como un negro que toca tumbadora, and that's it. Pero no, tú sabes, Mongo es un músico que toca percusión, ¿te fijas? Y esa es la diferencia. Y yo me considero también, sin darme mi guilla ni nada, but I've been around a long time, man, and I consider myself a musician that plays percussion.
You sure
Because
enough
I give
are.
the music priority, you know?
Well, that's why we appreciate you. David Romero allá in Las Vegas says, God bless you, Pablo. Thank you for sharing. And we all say blessings to you and thank you for sharing your time and your wisdom and your history with all of us. It's been a master class like always, and I thank you and I love you, my brother. God bless you. Como siempre, un abrazo. Te quiero mucho.
Okay.
Dios te
God
bendiga.
bless you too, man. God bless you and everyone else. Bless you. Big old hug.
You got
Chao.
it, brother,
Bye-bye.
man. Cuídate.
Bye.
Pa'lante. Bueno, mi gente, ahí escucharon ustedes al gran Pablo Rosario. La ñapa, this is my bonus. I'm just going to play this cut. I want you to listen to this. Quiero que oigan esto. La ñapa. Latin jazz. Oigan, oigan, oigan. great Miguel Zenón. His latest album, Música de las Américas. He'll be in Boston first weekend of December. He'll be at Jimmy's Jazz and Blues Cafe in Portsmouth, New Hampshire on Friday. And then on Sunday, I believe he'll be performing here in the city of Boston. Antillano is the name of the track that we're listening to. La canción que estamos escuchando se titula Antillano. Viene de la nueva propuesta musical del saxofonista puertorriqueño Miguel Zenón. And he writes the following in the liner notes. I'm going to share them with you, what he says. Antillano, gateway to the Caribbean and to the American continent. The Antilles start up in Cuba, pass through Puerto Rico, and later trickle down into a geographical half-moon formation that includes Guadalupe, Barbados, and Trinidad and Tobago, among many other beautiful islands. Historically placed as the first point of encounter between Europe and this part of the world, the Antilles share many common and perhaps unspoken links, a deep connection enhanced by music, climate, and people. This track is a celebration of the Antillano as a unique individual, featuring young virtuoso Daniel Diaz on congas. Wait till you hear the solo on congas, and you will also hear Henry Cole on the drums, with Miguel Zenón on saxophone. that, ladies and gentlemen, Miguel Senón, Música de las Américas Antillano, one of my favorite tracks off this new album by Miguel Senón. If you don't have the album, pick it up. And if you get a chance to see him perform live, please do so. There, you heard Henry Cole on the drums doing a magnificent drum solo. I'm sure Joe Morello is somewhere in heaven listening to that and saying, who is that young man? And you heard Daniel Diaz on the congas doing another exceptional solo as well on congas. He'll be in town on the 18th of November, a Friday at Roxbury Community College. The next day, Eddie Palmieri and his band will be at Scullers Jazz Club. So that brings this program to an end. I hope that you enjoyed the music I brought to you and the conversation with our dear friend Pablo Rosario. Next weekend, Sunday, we will have as a special guest Chris Rogers, the son of the great Barry Rogers. He'll be joining me for a conversation and music, things of that nature. And then the following week, 2 weeks from now, Frank Ferrer, the great producer, musician, composer, arranger, etc., will be joining us as well for a conversation. And the last comment here says, that was great. Yes, it was. Truly great. Some great music. Fantastic music. So this comes to the end. I went overtime. Divina's upstairs saying, when are you going to eat? Come upstairs. The food's getting cold. So I got to run upstairs and have dinner. Thank each and every one of you for being part of the Con Salsa family tonight. I'm glad that you were able to join us for whatever time. You can catch all my shows on YouTube. Jose Maso is the channel, or on Facebook, Con Salsa Facebook, and you can catch the shows that we've done in the past. This has been a D&J production for today's Sunday, the 23rd of October. Until next weekend, I love you. God bless you. Latino, defienda lo tuyo con orgullo. Todos unidos entre amigos, uno para todos y todos para uno. En nombre mío, José Mazo. Hasta el próximo fin de semana, Willie Bruno. Gracias a ti por ser parte de la familia Con Salsa durante el día de hoy. Hasta la próxima semana. Cuídense, los quiero mucho. Bendiciones.